The following podcast may contain adult language and an abundance of salt, suckers. So get ready, because we're talking 70s dystopian movies.
Can you dig it?
Can you dig it? Thank you for joining us on the Salty Nerd Podcast. Today we're talking about 70s dystopian movies, and I'm joined, as always, by my fantastic panel of nerds, the Bearded Barbarian. Welcome to the show.
What's up, man? Nice to see you back.
I know. For a little while, at least.
Yeah.
It's like a rare occurrence to have Vader and Alex on the same show.
We've got a lot of shit happened in April and May,
It was
guys.
a weird month.
Yeah, it was a weird month. I'm also joined by the Ambassador of Estrogen.
Hello.
Nice shirt you have there.
Thank you. Shout out to Force of Light.
Yes, Force of Light ladies, Natasha and Michelle. Thank you, guys. We are proud to support you.
Absolutely.
And Matt Takaitis, producer of the show.
I don't have a very fancy shirt on today, but I'm looking forward to talking about these crazy movies.
Corporate
Sorry,
shill.
babe. Did you need some more attention?
No.
Are we all wearing black, though? We're all wearing black, huh?
We usually are.
I always
think.
wear black.
Right on. All right, guys. Hey, we're going to talk about The Warriors, Deathrace 2000, and Logan's Run today. Before we get into it, a quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Hey, if you are subscribed to this channel and you love our content, help support us so we don't have to rely on the YouTube algorithm. Go to saltynerdclub.com, and there you can become a Patreon member, get access to a lot of really cool stuff, have contact with the hosts ourselves, get to chat, tell us what you want us to watch, and all kinds of other cool stuff, and hang out with our other patrons. We really do appreciate the support. We're trying to get to 100 Patreon supporters. That's our milestone that we're trying to reach for right now. So go to saltynerdclub.com and join the club. All right, let's talk about Deathrace 2000, the lost movie that apparently Sylvester Stallone played in. I didn't know that.
I think this was his first movie after porn.
Did he do porn?
He did, yeah.
No way.
You didn't know that?
No, I didn't.
So it's not.
He was really down on his luck.
Yeah, so he was living in a bus station, and basically it wasn't a hardcore porn. It was like a softcore one.
Yeah.
And
It was like one sex scene.
yeah, and he got like $200 to do this movie, and that was enough to like get him out of the bus station, and so that's why he did it. And so this was his next movie after doing that softcore porn.
See,
movie.
I know he sold his dog to get the rights to Rocky or something like that, or to get enough money to star in Rocky. I know that was happening, so I know
That's probably a good trade.
I know he was really down
but
on his luck.
He went back and bought his
Yeah,
dog back.
he
It was
went
the
back.
first thing he bought when he got money.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
And the porno he was in, I forget the actual name of it, but once he blew up, they re-released it, and they used a body double to do more hardcore stuff.
Oh,
And they renamed it the Italian Stallion.
Oh,
that's
that's marketing, man. Freaking ingenuity. All right. So, Jude, take it away. What is Deathrace 2000 all about?
All right. 1975, Deathrace 2000. Rated R with a runtime of 1 hour, 20 minutes. Had a budget of $300,000. What do you think?
I have no idea.
Yeah, it's a hard one.
I don't know what movie theaters were doing in the 70s. I don't know. 500 grand, I'm going to say.
I actually don't know. I'm looking it up right now.
I do know.
You do know?
Good.
This is one of those movies that probably made way more money after
Oh, for sure.
the cult status kicked in than it did when it was first released, I
Yeah.
imagine.
How much did it make, Kadish, on
Wait.
that?
I want to guess because I never get to.
Oh, okay. Go
It
ahead.
had a budget of $300,000. I'm going to say it made $1 million.
All right, I have 1 million. What was your guess, maybe?
I didn't guess, but I would have said.
I said 500,000, I think. Yeah. 500 grand.
Yeah, what was Vader's guess?
Oh, $500,000.
Okay.
I don't know.
4,800,000.
Wow.
What?
Really?
Good for you, little movie.
This was a Roger Corman film, and he never lost money. on
That's
his
true.
movies.
That's
In
right.
fact, I think most of his movies had a budget of like 300,000 because like Deathstalker 2 was in the $300,000.
And they
range.
usually at least doubled their budget.
yeah.
This was made by the same dude who made Deathstalker?
Yeah.
This guy is our podcast here lately. It's crazy. I mean,
Roger
movies
Corman
we do.
made thousands of movies,
Yeah.
and they were all bad.
I have an entire calendar devoted to all of Roger Corman's
That's awesome.
best movies.
I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
It only has
going in.
12 pages.
I read his autobiography when I was in film school. It's really very interesting. Like he came up with Little Shop of Horrors and a bunch of other like movies that he'd do in like 2 days on sets that were scheduled to be torn down by other movies.
Nice.
All right, so here's the synopsis. In the year 2000, the distant future, Contestants gather in a cross-country race to see who can rack up the most points for running down pedestrians. Sylvester Stallone is Machine Gun Joe, always the bridesmaid, never the bride at the death race. He's determined to beat out Frankenstein, but Rambo is no match for the Kung Fu master. And David Carradine wins the race, the girl, and the country, when his final kill is the president. Spoiler. Sorry.
Yeah. I've never seen this movie before.
Nor had I.
And
what a blast.
But you guys have probably been exposed to
oh
it.
yeah. I knew of its existence.
But just based off of the whole points thing, like everyone who's ever driven a car is like, points.
I was like, oh my God, my childhood makes so much more sense right now. Because every time we'd be driving down the street, my mom would be like, hey, how many points for that guy? And I just thought it was a weird thing that my mom said.
It's like,
You just thought your mom was
I was like, oh, my mom, pop culture.
it's like senior citizen in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
70 points.
Yeah, so like in this future, it's like this weird thing where like the Nazis weren't defeated. In fact, America kind of merged with the Third Reich, and the president kind of spends his time ruling from Germany and commuting to the United States. And so Nazis are just kind of like part of the culture, and every aspect of society is super like kind of compartmentalized. So like you have like the hippies, and you have like the Nazis, and you have like, you know, these different groups. And in order to placate them, every year they have this cross-country race that's meant to, it's almost like the Hunger Games type scenario.
I feel like this is the world that the Flag Smashers wanted from Falcon and Winter Soldier. Like one world, one people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you have this kind of like real fascistic president who presides over the United States, and he kind of makes sure that this race happens every year in order to placate the masses.
It's like
with
it's
bloodlust.
Gladiator arena.
I was kind of getting the vibes off of this president as the same as the movie with Natalie Portman in it, with the guy with the mask.
Oh, V for Vendetta.
Yeah, V for Vendetta kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's one, like, every time somebody kind of like emulates Hitler in a movie,
Yeah.
you kind of have that same vibe. You're
But it also almost feels like a WWE thing.
a little bit,
yeah.
where like all the race car drivers are these larger than life characters with like themes and stuff like that.
Oh, you can't tell me that if we did this for real, it wouldn't be a ratings blockbuster.
Well, it's the same argument for like Running Man.
Yeah, Running Man. I was just going to say that. Running Man, same kind of thing.
Yeah, because people are barbarians.
Use Death Row in me. Let's do it, man.
Yeah.
Didn't they remake this movie with like Jason Statham or something?
They did, and it was remade by Paul W.S. Anderson, who did Monster Hunter, the Resident Evil movies,
okay.
Event Horizon. Basically, every bad movie you can think of was the guy who did. I actually enjoyed the remake of Deathrace.
I haven't seen that.
It's not as charming as this movie, as the original. And it doesn't have as much social commentary as this one does. But it was a fun action movie.
I think people only like this movie ironically because it's not good. It's funny.
I mean,
Oh, I thought it was a blast.
Yeah, but you love ironically bad movies, though. That's your thing.
this is true.
So that makes sense. That's what I'm saying. Like people.
But I do it from the heart. I
I'm
love
not-
it from my heart.
I'm not questioning your genuineness. Is that a word? Genuineness? I'm not Is that the word?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
not
not
questioning
man.
what-
Keep going.
Okay.
when we were talking about our movies for the last week,
Yeah.
I knew Jude was gonna
Oh,
love
this is her.
her whole
bag.
all week. She
Yeah.
was probably gonna be loving all three of
I
them.
honestly was not looking forward to this week because
Oh, no.
like 80s bad movies are my thing.
Mhm.
And I was like, 70s, I don't know. But like I watched this and I was like, holy shit, this is awesome.
Yeah, like this movie on just a plain old Jane on paper, it's not very good. The cars are corny looking. The characters are nonsense. I mean, the outfits are ridiculous. Like you said, it's like WWE. It's very much like that style. It's goofy. It's dumb.
I think it does its job though, because like I'm not a David Carradine fan. I've never watched Kung Fu,
Yeah.
and you know how much I love martial arts stuff. But I don't know. There's something about him. He's not for me. But like I was watching this and I was like, ugh, David Carradine's in this, fine. And I was watching it and I was like, you know what? I'm fucking on board.
Yeah.
Frankenstein, he's a badass. I don't know why, but something about him is sexy in this. He's wearing like the
gimp outfit.
like the gimp outfit.
Yeah,
I
with
was
the
like,
cape.
I didn't know I liked that.
and it's always weird when he takes his mask off because it's like the makeup goes along with it.
Yeah.
But-
He's so like his whole persona is that he's Frankenstein. He's like a man put together by other pieces, and he's
Yeah.
supposed to be like monstrous.
Yeah, he's been in so many accidents in this race
Yeah.
that like medical science has just patched him back together.
Yeah, so he's wearing this S&M mask that only has his eyes cut out.
And his mouth.
And and inside the one eye, it just looks like scar tissue, but that's part of the mask. He like rips it off, and he's just like completely this pretty boy.
Yeah, he's a pretty boy.
And he's like, I'll take my mask off, but I don't want you to scream.
You can't tell anybody
terrifying.
about what you're gonna see.
Yeah, and then he takes his mask off, and he's like, "What, you were expecting worse?" Like he like winks at her.
When he gets that girl in the bedroom, I mean, the bedroom looked dope, like that big wide open studio.
How spacious! I want that much room in my bedroom.
The furniture is like
with the industrial exit.
Yes,
that they use for like ballrooms.
Sometimes there's fires. I don't know. You need a clear exit.
All the furniture's like minimalist. It's amazing. It looks great. I actually want to stay at that hotel.
It looks really low budget.
Yeah.
It's like we rented out this ballroom for $25 a day.
It was a conference room.
Let's make it every single interior that is in this movie.
Yeah, they creepazoids this.
Yeah, for sure. But what I liked about that scene too is the dialogue is just so ridiculous. But he's like flirting with this girl, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, what else did they replace on you?" And he's like, "Let me show you." And it was like, "Oh my god."
Well, what's interesting about this movie is that so originally Peter Fonda was going to play Frankenstein because he had a kind of like a long-term relationship with Roger Corman.
That would have been cool. I can see that.
And basically, Peter Fonda didn't get the script, and so he was like, "I'm going to pass on this one." And so David Carradine was just coming off of Kung Fu, and he didn't want to get typecast, as like the karate guy.
Which he did.
Yeah, he did. But basically, he did this movie, and he's one of the only actors that Roger Corman ever agreed to give a percentage of the gross to. So he got 10% of the gross of this movie in order to be in it, because David Carradine was like a big star at the time. And Sylvester Stallone was the nobody.
Yeah.
Like nobody had ever heard of him before. And in this movie, so like the different teams of racers, it's always a man and a woman. And they're always fucking each other.
Yes. Well, I got the impression that it was like a rite of passage in order for you to become the
navigator.
The navigator, like you have to like love this driver, and you're basically there for all of their needs.
Yeah. Well, I think because there are two female drivers as well, and they have male navigators that they're banging. Mm-hmm. So like I feel like it's just like in this society, part of the team building is just having sex. and it's also kind of almost a hedonistic thing, because there's this one scene where they're all getting massages and they're all like completely naked and stuff.
Yeah.
They're arguing.
I was not expecting that.
That was a great scene, because they're all like bitching at each other because they're rivals. They're trying to win this race against each other. So they're arguing, but they're all butt-ass naked.
Okay, so just for our audience's sake, you cannot find this movie on streaming right now. It's not on Roku, or it's not on Netflix or Hulu or any of this stuff. I had to find this on YouTube.
Yeah.
Matt just sent me the link, and there's several different links on YouTube, and some of them are really crappy quality. But we found a good link, and maybe Matt can put it underneath in the description.
Yeah,
maybe.
It's in our Discord app. If you guys go to our Discord server,
but there's
it's
some
in there.
really high def copies of this on YouTube, and it's weird because I wasn't expecting like rated R booby movies on YouTube, you know, and it kind of threw me. I'm like, whoa, there's naked in this thing? That's weird, you know.
It's Roger Corman.
Yeah, Deathstalker, bro.
But it threw me, and I'm like, whoa, those are some nice 70s boobs.
There were some nice 70s boobs in this movie.
Now we need a new T-shirt.
80s tits, 70s boobs.
Perky 70s boobs. And
this is before they went to the 80s.
My grade instantly went up a star. You know, so I was really surprised.
I did have fun with this movie, but I thought everything was kind of corny. The characters were goofy. I didn't like. It's not a movie I'd go back and watch a bunch of times.
No, but I had a blast watching this.
Yeah.
I've had a blast this whole week.
This is a movie that I enjoyed so much that I think a lot of people have never seen this movie, but I would definitely show this at like a movie night with a bunch of friends.
Yeah. This is one of your classic, like, let's watch a bad movie together and eat food and drink and have a good time. Like that's where this fits.
Surprisingly, this movie is quite satirical in that, like, it's got a lot of humor to it, but it's like very dark humor, like, especially considering the fact that the way that these racers rack up points is like they have to like basically run over civilians during the race. And one of the standout scenes in this movie, because I remember when I first saw this on like a sleepover in high school, there was euthanasia day at the local hospital, and they rolled out all the old people in the middle of the street for the racers to run over, and it was just like, euthanasia day. Okay. And the old people are just sitting out there like they're totally cool with it. They're like,
all,
I just
like,
want to
dressed
die.
up.
I'm old.
Yeah, this is it. I'm gonna end. That's a weird thing that like it's kind of a through line in two of these movies that we watched this week. Is like once you get to a certain age, society just has no use for you anymore.
You're done now.
Well, I mean, it's like that in reality too.
Well, you know,
Well,
I've
sure,
actually
but
been
we don't
thinking
kill
about
them.
this. I mean, I'm not old. I'm 51.
Well, I was
Okay.
going to say we don't have any use for Vader. So.
But,
Oh.
but I'm starting to wonder. I was actually talking about this with my wife yesterday. It's like, once we get like 65, 70 and we retire, there's really no use for us.
Just to hang out and buy things, be
You
the
know,
consumer.
Just hang out, be there for the grandkids.
We're going to have a lot more
I guess,
time to
but
do the podcast.
That's true.
This is true. God, I can't wait to retire.
Watch a bunch of oldies talking
Yeah,
about
watch
movies.
a bunch of old people
Well,
walk
we
around.
talked about this movie in 2022.
We'll
We're going to
we'll have
revisit
found our
it
audience
today.
by then.
Our audience.
Back in my day.
You know what's funny is I get people who reach out to us on Instagram and stuff. Our audience is the older generation because they
sure.
they message us or message me.
20-year-olds don't want to hear from
No,
us.
they're like, bro, I love your podcast. It's just like hanging out with my old friends
Yeah.
talking about movies, and I'm like, oh, okay,
But I think about
that's
stuff
our niche.
Like, I think about stuff like if I'm doing this thing in 20 years, Salty's going to be like a little older than I am right now, and I'm just going to be fucking old. You guys are gonna have to wheel me into hopefully our actual studio at that point. I'm just gonna have like my Captain Pike little box over here. What do you think, Vader?
We'll still pump that whiskey into you.
Yeah, just an IV of whiskey.
It's just like I don't know.
That's goofy. That was a weird tangent.
Put me in front of the car. Where's Frankenstein?
Kill me.
So David Carradine refused to wear leather. And part of the reason why they dressed him in that PVC outfit was because like he wasn't going to wear leather. And I turned to Jude. I was like, I'm convinced that they just went to a sex shop and got a gimp outfit for him to wear.
With a weird like Darth Vader helmet from Party City or something.
Well, there was no Darth Vader yet.
There was. Oh, that's right. This
No,
was before that, huh?
All of these movies are pre-Darth Vader.
Oh,
This is the inspiration.
Yeah, but Roger Corman, you know, he was the one who gave
Is
Francis
the original
Ford.
writer of Star Wars.
Well, he was the one who gave Francis Ford Coppola and George Lucas their start.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
Oh my
if Darth
God.
Vader's
If
really
there was
Frankenstein?
No Roger Corman, there would be no
he looks
Star
just
Wars.
like him.
Well, he's got the same backstory.
Yeah.
where he's like all disfigured and stuff.
He's more machine rather than man.
I gotta get David Carradine action figures now.
Oh my gosh, dude, that's amazing.
That's awesome.
Okay, so there was one moment in this movie that just made me freaking belly laugh, and I think it was because it was so stupid. But he had his glove on, like Frankenstein would never take his glove off, right? And this lady finally is like, "Please, just take your glove off. What's wrong with your hand? Let me see it." He takes his glove off, and his hand is like a prosthetic hand with a hand grenade, a grenade.
Oh yeah,
in the palm.
You're like going right to the end.
I'm going to the end. And I'm like, what is going on with this? Because he talks about how he wants to kill the president. Like that's his whole goal is to win the race so he can meet the president and then kill him. And he's like, oh, I'm going to, this is my hand grenade. It was like such a pun. And he's like, I'm going to shake the president's hand and blow him
you
up.
just skip so much stuff.
What's your favorite moment?
Well, we to follow up on you, we learned that his navigator is secretly a plant from the resistance or whatever they call it. And her
She's
job
the
is
granddaughter of like the main
Yeah.
lady of the resistance.
and her job is to like win the race and go up and kill the president when they win, because the reward is you get to go shake the hand of the president. But she didn't know that Frankenstein was already a resistance dude and he wanted to kill him too.
Yeah. So just to give a quick breakdown on this, the Resistance's plan is to replace Frankenstein with one of their own,
The body
Right.
double.
so that they can kill the president. But Frankenstein, independent of all this, so like basically the government raises the Frankensteins from birth to do this race. And when they get messed up in crashes and stuff like that, the government comes in and patches them up. And so because he had this like terrible upbringing where, you know, he was just constantly getting messed up in car crashes and getting fixed up and kind of used by the government, he has this grudge against the government. And so he wants to kill the president. And the only way he can do that is by shaking the president's hand and having this bomb go off that's in his hand.
Hand grenade.
Yeah.
It's
gonna
a
sacrifice
literal
That's great.
hand grenade.
Yeah, literal hand grenade. It's
Yeah.
not, it's so goofy.
And so once his new navigator and him kind of find out that they both have the same end goal, they kind of put aside their plans and work together in order to achieve this this final kind of victory over the tyranny of the president.
Yes. And then once he does kill the president, he becomes the president.
You keep what you kill.
Yeah.
It's like a Richard B. Riddick moment.
I
And
love
she's
that kind of
Mrs.
stuff.
President Frankenstein.
Yes.
At the end.
I want to know, kind of changing the subject a little bit. I want to know how big of fans of Looney Tunes cartoons the director of this stuff was, or the writer.
Why do you say that?
Because when they were killing the other drivers, it's straight up Roadrunner moments.
Yeah, it's very mean.
They literally paint a cave.
Oh, and let her drive off the cliff, right?
Off the cliff.
Yeah, that's right.
It's hilarious. I'm like, they're really painting a cave on a fake background.
Yep.
Yeah,
So like,
it
she'll
starts
drive
off,
through the tunnel and off the cave.
it starts off with what, like 8 drivers?
I don't remember
Four,
something.
four cars.
Was it just 4?
It's only
There was just 4.
Oh, it was the
Okay.
Nazis, Tommy, Sylvester Stallone.
The 2 chicks and the 2 dudes.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's only 4. Wow,
Oh,
that's a
okay.
really small race.
So the resistance has been killing off all of the other drivers, and it comes down to Sylvester Stallone and David Carradine,
yeah.
are the 2 remaining ones.
There were the Romans, like the Nero people, and they put a fake baby out at a picnic that was actually explosives, and so you get a lot of points for infants.
Oh.
Like I want to say it's like a 50 points for infants, and so like
and like
that-
just to give you a perspective, like just a dude is like 10 points.
Yeah.
So if you see a baby, you got to kill that baby. You got to get those points.
and the old people are 100 points.
Okay.
So basically, Nero, the driver who has the Roman theme to him, he sees the baby out in the field. He aims for it, and it turns out the resistance had kind of planned this ambush. And the minute he hits that baby, the explosives go off, and basically they die.
Yeah.
And this is big news. And it's kind of funny because throughout the whole movie, there's this like news anchor who has this microphone that just has TV on it. I guess there's just like one station.
TV network. Yeah.
And he's kind of like this over the top, like flamboyant kind of guy. And then his I guess collaborator,
His anchor or whatever.
Oh, the chick?
Yeah.
My
someone-
dear
someone-
friend.
Yeah,
She's
she's friends with
everyone.
everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's her best friend.
And it's kind of like the satire on like the media culture that kind of glorifies this
That
violence.
was very Hunger Games for me.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah, this was very much Hunger Games before Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Jude, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Because we're both big fans of Better Off Dead with
Yes.
John Cusack.
Yes.
The character that the 2 Asian dudes mimic, is that the character from this movie where he's like, and today, like, the really overly dry announcer guy?
I did not connect.
You didn't pick that up?
No.
I picked it up. I was like, that sounds really familiar. It sounds just like the character that they're mimicking.
Well, in
From
the
Better Off
movie
Dead.
that you're talking about, he says that they learned English by watching
Sports. Yeah.
Sports Network.
Yeah, I was
or
wondering if
something.
that dude was in this movie for some reason, or if that character or the actor was playing him was like mimicking that character, that dude, the sports announcer guy.
No,
I didn't catch
think
that.
that's just a general kind of like
Yeah.
1960s news anchor.
Once
voice.
again, we have the race between Frankenstein and it just sounded so.
Machine Gun Joe.
Yeah, it sounded so familiar to me, and
Well,
I
that
was like,
sounded
where have I
like you were
heard that?
doing a Howard Cosell impersonation.
That's what they mimic, right? Is that the guy?
I don't know.
I gotta watch that movie again. I can't remember.
You guys aren't old enough for Howard Cosell.
No, we are not.
I barely caught him when I was like 10. I think is when he died.
So Sylvester Stallone actually ad-libbed most of his dialogue. in
Oh,
this
really?
movie.
You
Yeah.
can't tell that?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Get in the car, bitch.
Dude, I love how much he hates his navigator. Like, she's just the most annoying bimbo ever, and he's just like, oh, I
Yeah,
can't
he
stand
doesn't
it.
even want to have sex with her.
Yeah, he doesn't want anything to do with
You
her.
disgust me.
He's
hilarious.
He's like,
walking
don't make me slap you again.
He's just walking around slapping bitches in the face. He walks through a room like,
and like Frankenstein purposefully like goes and whispers stuff to his navigator.
Yeah,
because he gets
Jealous.
Yeah.
he just set that girl up for an ass whooping. He like walked up to her and was like, psst, 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 nothing, and walks away. Like, dude, you just fucked that girl.
And what about the one girl who shows up and she's like,
the groupie?
Yeah, the groupie.
Yeah.
And she's like, I just wanted you to know who I am. And then like the next day she like sacrifices herself for points.
And he's down for it. He's like, oh, I did her a favor.
Yeah. And the navigator is like, why would she do that? And he's like, to show me she loved me.
So goofy.
And did you guys notice that his car that Frankenstein drives,
The dinosaur?
It's got a big dagger on the front.
It's a monster.
A monster. Yeah.
Frankenstein's monster.
Oh, is that what that was?
Yeah.
A little. I thought. Okay.
It looks like the Gecko Mobile from PJ Masks.
It's so
if you're,
good.
if you're a
It does,
parent,
oh
you'll
my
get
God.
that.
The cars are so goofy in this.
I like how Sylvester Stallone's just got like a huge knife.
A
on
huge
the front
knife.
of his car.
Big old
Which is
Wicked.
obviously made out of like cardboard.
It looks kind of like a Rambo knife.
A little bit, yeah.
A little
Yeah.
foreshadowing there.
Yeah, a little
Yeah.
foreshadowing. Nice, I like
Yeah,
it.
big old buck knife.
The Nazi car was like a hilarious. I didn't expect there to be just full on Nazis in this movie. So when they pulled up,
It's the 70s.
yeah,
Who
it was
gives a
like,
shit?
and our they had a stupid nickname for it and everything. Oh, the Nazi from whatever, and I'm like, oh,
Could you
I'm like,
imagine
what is
if,
happening
like,
here?
Could you imagine if like Kurtzman or some of these Hollywood woke idiots
Oh, if they watch this movie,
got a hold of this thing and remade it?
oh,
today?
a remake of this?
Yeah. Oh, it'd be awful.
Oh, it'd be terrible.
Yeah,
It'd be awful.
the Nazi woman was Matilda the Hun.
Oh, yeah,
That's
okay.
awesome. I
Yeah.
love it. Yeah.
All right, let's do final thoughts and favorite moments. Vader, what do you got for us on
Oh
Death
boy,
Race 2000?
kind of threw that at me. Favorite moments. Well, I like the Roadrunner moment when they drove through the fake cave off the cliff. That was funny. I was a little thrown because I hadn't seen this before. So when they rolled all the old people out in the middle of the street in
Yeah.
the hospital,
Yeah.
that was hilarious. But it was even better when they saw the old people and they swerved and got all the
Got all
nurses
the nurses, yeah.
that were behind the wall. And they're all like bouncing up over the top of the wall as the car
It's
drives
very
through.
Looney Tunes.
It was hilarious
Yeah.
to me. I'm like, oh my, they didn't really just do that, did they? They did just do that. It's like these people watch way too many cartoons. And it was funny. It was funny. I like that.
Right on. You have a rating? What do you give this movie for a
I
rating?
enjoyed this. I didn't know what I was gonna think going into these movies this week. I had a good time this week. I was channeling my inner Jude for this movie. It was weird. It's a weird movie.
Oh, yeah.
And it's
weird.
very it's like I feel like I needed to like go smoke a doobie or something while I was watching this, but I didn't. But it was cool. I'd give it a solid 3 stars. I mean, it's not that great, but it's fun.
Mhm.
And I had a good time with it. So yeah, 3 stars. Go to YouTube, watch it for free.
Yeah.
Have fun with this thing, man. Just
Right on.
it's kooky good times. So yeah.
Jude, how about you?
Kooky good times. I like it. I agree with Vader. I didn't realize how much I was going to be into this movie, and I thought it was a blast the whole way through. My favorite moment is probably the reveal that Frankenstein is no monster. He's a pretty boy.
Got like a heart of gold.
Yeah, he takes that mask off, and you think it's gonna be like all like, blah, and it's not. I don't know. I just thought it was funny. This whole movie is just hilarious and ridiculous and awesome. I loved it. So I guess I'm rating it on a scale of 1 to 5 in 70s dystopian movies, and I think that this absolutely does its job. I'll give it. I'm trying to figure out what I want to base it on. Like
How many points
sets
is
of
it?
boobs, baby murders. I guess I'll give it
Gimp mask.
a 4 out of 5 S&M outfits.
Okay. 4 out of 5. That's strong. How about you, Kadish?
So this is definitely one of Roger Corman's better movies, in my opinion. And you know, it's a very creative film. It works with the satire. It works with, you know, kind of the dark comedy. The characters are interesting. The world that it's set in is interesting. It's got nudity. It's got action. It's got pretty much everything you want in kind of like a low budget exploitation film.
Mm-hmm.
But it has like this social commentary that underpins it, that just kind of elevates it to a whole nother level. So I'm definitely a big fan of this movie. I always have been since I saw it in high school for the first time. So I would definitely give this, you know, 3 solid hand grenades out of 5.
Oh, you stole my rating.
Hand grenades.
Hand grenades.
Yeah,
Great minds think alike.
Yeah.
Speaking of Roger Corman, I just wanted to say real quick, like if you are familiar with Roger Corman's movies, like, and then you watch this looks so much better than most of his movies that it's almost like a surprise that you find out it's a Roger Corman
I
movie.
don't
So
know, Chopping Mall looked pretty good.
yeah, it did. But like it just puts it up at a whole nother level. Like if you factor it into like on a scale of Roger Corman movies.
Yeah.
You know, this is like top tier.
Like one of the cool things about Roger Corman is like he didn't care about
he
the
did
quality.
not.
and so like he would hire anyone to do anything. And so a lot of young filmmakers got their start doing Roger Corman movies, like Francis Ford Coppola, for instance, George Lucas. A lot of these guys who kind of revolutionized movies in the 80s got their start with Roger Corman. And he was like, as long as the movie's done and I can like release it and make money back.
And it fits in one
care.
can.
Yeah. if it's 80 minutes, mwah, you know.
How long was this?
I think this was 91
like an hour and
minutes.
20 something minutes.
Let me see. No, it was actually 80 minutes on the dot. Yeah.
That's really interesting.
One can of
Is
stuff.
that- one
I
can?
have 1 hour, 20 minutes. So
Yeah.
80 minutes. Yeah.
I know.
Sorry. I
Nice.
had to do some math.
All right. For me, this is probably going to be 2.5 stars. I'm not as inclined to enjoy movies like this as Jude is. Like, it's not my bag, but I was surprised at how much fun I had with it. I think my favorite moment is definitely the old people in the road thing. I was not expecting that. I was like, oh my God, this is really dark. And then the infant thing, like babies are worth more points. I was
She's
like,
get the baby.
I was like,
get
Jesus
the
Christ.
baby.
And we're
oh my
rooting
God,
for
she's
it.
Yeah.
really into
Kill
it.
that son of a bitch.
kill that infant. It was super weird.
Points.
And what did you think of a young Stallone?
I mean, he fits the bill. He's Sylvester Stallone. I don't think he knows how to act. He just plays
No,
himself.
he
Yeah.
doesn't.
He's just Sylvester Stallone in a movie.
But it is weird, you know, considering how big of a star he became. Like,
Yeah.
like seeing him in this movie, because him and David Carradine, it's like between the two of them, it
Oh.
elevates the movie to like a different level.
Well, I
nowadays,
think that's
yeah.
the only reason people still are interested in this thing.
Yeah, if this had a bunch of no-name actors that nobody knew about, I don't think it would be as popular as it is now. But I don't want to say it's a household name, but people know about
I mean,
the movie.
I do really like the few kill scenes that are actually in this movie, because they just kind of show the car going past the camera and then like a guy jumping off the top of a trampoline.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's
There
just
was
like-
one where the guy got his head run over and it like
Oh, it
just
squished
smoked.
his
yeah,
head.
yeah.
Yeah. There's a
But
couple.
that was a big part of the special effects budget for that.
The downside for me is I hate when movies artificially speed up footage to make it look like it's going
but
faster.
They had to do that.
It was
for the-
so bad. It's like, especially when he was chasing down the fisherman and he's in the river and it's obvious the dude's like running like Scooby-Doo and his legs are just blurred. I'm like, come on. It's just so corny.
Well, the cars that they used for this movie, so like they had to build these kit cars, like these cars that came in a kit, and then customize the exterior for them. And it was kind of funny because Roger Corman, after the movie was done, he actually sold the cars to a automobile museum for more money than he paid to make them.
Oh, well, yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean,
They're
come on.
probably like total Flintstone cars. Like they had to use their feet.
if these 4 cars went on display down at Fremont Street or something, all 4 of us would make a trip down
Oh,
For
yeah.
sure.
to go
Yeah.
see those cars.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to argue with that. 100%. You guys be
Absolutely.
like, Salt, you get off your ass. Let's
It's
go.
like, we're taking some photos. Let's go.
Alex, let me ask you something.
What's up?
Okay, so you gave this what, 2.5?
Yeah,
out of
2.5.
5? Okay, but what are you basing it on? Just like stuff that you like,
Yeah.
or like in the realm of movie that it is?
No, this is my personal rating.
Okay.
So among all the movies that I love and hate, this is going to be a 2.5 star. I don't.
Okay.
You do a weird thing where you're like,
I do
well,
a weird
in this
thing.
genre.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I
yeah.
should rate it on.
Okay,
because
that's fine.
that's the theme of the day.
Jude, the points don't matter. It's cool.
They
Whatever.
matter to me.
It's funny because I do it kind of more what you do. I kind of just go with my gut.
Yeah.
It's like, how many stars do you think this deserves? You know, and I don't know.
Like there's things I like about it. There's funny things. I do think the social commentary is very interesting and not something you would expect from a movie like this, but the way it has aged, it's a little hard to watch sometimes.
Yeah.
With the artificially sped up footage and all that nonsense and the dialogue.
But in 1976 or whenever this
Yeah.
came out, this was pretty awesome.
Sure,
It was probably
yeah.
pretty cool.
It was fun,
Yeah.
corny, cheesy, drive-through movie night. I get it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what
Hot,
it is.
hot chicks
Yeah.
wearing no clothing.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sure
you
a
just-
bunch of teenagers.
Roll up to the drive-in and not watch the movie. Wink, wink.
Yeah.
It reminds me, we used to have a drive-in up where I'm from in Oregon, and the drive-in was right next to the freeway, right next to Interstate 5. And I remember we'd be driving home from town some nights at like 9, 10 o'clock at night. And I'd always look over at that drive-through, at that big white screen over there.
Mhm.
And I was praying, boobs. I need some boobs. Give me some boobs. It happened twice.
Twice.
And like growing up, I'm like,
That's awesome. You're such a weirdo.
it's like I'm like 11 years old. Give me some boobs. Give me some boobs.
Best day of your life. Every
Oh
time
my
it happened.
god. 11?
9 to 11.
You're hilarious, dude.
Yeah.
Right on. All right, guys, that's it for our discussion of Deathrace 2000. Thanks for joining us. Stay tuned. We're going to be talking about Logan's Run next, and we're going to take a quick break, listen to some sponsors. Be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Hey, if you would like to support the podcast, go to saltynerdstore.com. There you can get some really cool merch. We got some t-shirts, stickers, all kinds of really cool stuff there for your apparel pleasure, I guess. I don't know. Whatever. Buy some stuff.
For your skin contact.
For your skin.
For your skin coverings.
Yeah. Saltynerdstore.com. You guys can pick up some of our stuff. And the money that goes into the podcast helps us make more content for you. We'd really appreciate you rocking some of our swag.
Yeah, cover it up.
Cover it up, people.
Yeah. Do we have we got the boob stalker shirt.
Yep.
We've got
80s tits.
You Goonies with the YouTube logo. Really fun stuff, guys. Go check it out.
Pretty soon we'll have a 70s perky tits.
It's gonna be there, yeah.
70s boobs were the shit.
They were awesome.
yeah,
And then they
just a shirt that says no bra.
they just started. There was no bra in the
that's
future.
great. That's
Yeah.
great.
No
Yeah.
one
No bra.
ever wore a bra.
No. Even George Lucas said.
No bras in the future.
Yeah, George Lucas. That's a quote from him. All right, guys, we're going to talk about Logan's Run next. Ju, take it away. What is this movie all about?
1976, Logan's Run, rated PG, amazingly, considering all the boobs in this.
Lots of boobs.
With a runtime of 1 hour, 59 minutes. Had a budget of $9 million.
Wow. God.
What do you think this brought in?
Are you sure? Because I have runtime of 119 minutes. I don't think it was that long.
Let me address that really quick because I saw this thing on YouTube where like the original movie had one time, and then apparently what most people will watch of this movie is a director's cut
Okay.
Oh, okay.
that has like, oh, no, wait, I'm thinking of.
So the original runtime was 119.
Actually,
and director's cut.
I'm completely wrong because I'm thinking about the Warriors right now, which is the
Okay.
next movie we watch. So I
Anyway,
I'm
yeah.
going by
Cut that out.
IMDb.
moving on.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, how much? $9 million?
Yes.
I'm going to say it brought in not as much as it spent. I'm going to say it lost money. $8 million.
I'm gonna go against you.
Really?
Do it.
You said 9.
Yes.
I'm gonna say like 20 million.
Whoa.
$25 million.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't think this would be that popular back then. I didn't think people were ready for this.
This was actually a huge hit.
Oh, that's cool. I
Yeah.
didn't know that. This is my first time
Well,
watching
you
it.
weren't around then.
No, I was not. That was decades
Nobody
away.
told you.
I think I was the only one alive at the table when any of these movies that we watched today came out.
Probably. What year were you? 1970?
70.
70 on the dot?
Yeah.
Okay,
I was 6
cool.
years old when this came out.
Did you see it or not until much later?
Dude.
I don't know. I'm just asking.
It was PG.
I feel like I've seen this, but for the sake of this show, I'm just going to say this was my first time watching.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty
Me
sure
too.
it wasn't, but I don't remember watching it.
I've seen clips of it.
Unless I've seen like some PG, like real PG version, like on
Like a
TV,
TV
or
version,
something,
yeah.
maybe a long time ago. But yeah.
Okay.
But we've all seen this movie just through clips
Yeah.
and, you know, pop culture and stuff. You know, we all know what it's about and everything, you know. So yeah.
Yeah.
So this was a first watch for me. I knew nothing about this. I didn't know what it was about or anything. So let me give you the synopsis.
Go for it.
Yeah.
It's the year 2274. Logan is a sandman, a person in charge of tracking down and terminating runners. No one in the city is permitted to live past 30 years old. When you turn 30, you go to carousel, which is a way to spin and float and then explode to death. Most people are cool with it because you're probably going to get reborn later anyway. Logan is several years away from being carouseled when the computer tells him to pose as a runner and infiltrate Sanctuary. The computer strips away his remaining years, and now everyone is trying to kill him. He teams up with his lady friend, and then they go on a journey to find Sanctuary, a place where people go to escape carousel. Turns out Sanctuary doesn't exist, and this information makes the computer self-destruct. Now it's up to Logan to show everyone in the city what lies beyond the walls and what happens when you get old.
You can live. God, he was so animated during that one part.
Yeah, I like how their big plan is just to shout at the people.
Yeah.
He'd be like, hey, look what we saw.
All right.
The best thing about this movie is when they see pictures of old people and they're like, what is that?
They look at Vader and be like, what happened to him? What are those things on your face? Why is your hair white?
It's like, can't they not grow whiskers until they age out?
30-year-olds. I mean, I'm 34, 30, I can't remember, 33 or something. This didn't happen until well into my 30s.
Is this movie's such a freaking weird.
I had a really surprisingly good time with this movie.
I
didn't like it's my first watch, had no idea what to expect. I've obviously seen clips, I've kind of heard of the pop culture references and whatnot, but I've never actually dove in and like watched the movie. And watching it, I was like really into the setup. Like, oh, this got this utopian future where everything's really hyper regulated. You got like everything's apparently provided for you.
It's got the world's coolest miniature set.
You get like teleported hookers in your living room. It's amazing.
They're not hookers. They're just
down.
They're just
like,
also down to fuck.
Yeah, they're like DTF.
Yeah,
hit the DTF button.
It's like the first incarnation of chat roulette. And it's funny because like in that scene, like the first person who shows up is a dude.
And he's like, no, I'm not feeling it.
Not tonight.
That's so funny.
And then the girl shows up and he's like, oh yeah, and she's like, ew, no.
Yeah.
She's like, I thought this would make me happy, but I'm just sad.
I just changed my mind.
Yeah. And he's like, oh God, I gotta talk to this girl now.
And he's wearing that like badass kimono.
Oh my God, a badass freaking robe.
Dude, I want one of those.
Dude, that's dope.
We should do we should all get like cool Logan's Run clothes. So come do the podcast of Logan's Run outfits.
So Michael York, like he kept that thing. That big
of course he did.
And you know, I think someone in an interview asked him like, you know, like, do you wear that around the house? And he's like, not often.
No, but sometimes. What I'm feeling.
So basically, like babies are born.
Yeah, through tubes though.
Through tubes, and then they're like incubated for a while, and then when they go up, they're green. Like they put them all in green clothes.
So they have these things called life clocks that are in the palm of their hand. They're these
you're
little diamonds.
Born with these little stones in your hand.
And the stones kind of like when you hit the age of 30, they blink, and that lets everyone know that it's your time to go to carousel, which they believe is a way of like reincarnation. But it's kind of funny because this is actually based off of a book. And in the book, the age is 21 years old. So no one's allowed over 21.
Oh my God, how Lord of the Flies.
And in that book, it's the palm, it's like called a palm flower, not a life clock. And when you die, you don't go on carousel. They take you to this room where like they give you like this happy gas that eventually like kills you, but like you die in a pleasurable way. And basically the society was created and central planned by this like computer in order to preserve the resources that had run scarce because of overpopulation. And so they control the population by killing everyone once they hit a certain age. And in the book, so when Logan goes on his run, the computer sends him on this quest to find sanctuary because it's malfunctioning. And the guy who is in charge of getting people safely out of this society is actually his partner, Francis. And Francis in the book is like 40 years old, but through like all these surgeries, he looks like he's 21. And Sanctuary is actually a space station that people take a rocket up to.
Oh, this is very confusing. No wonder they cut all that out of the movie.
It's very different from the movie.
Yeah.
The movie is like a little bit more dumbed down.
Yeah. I didn't mind it though. Like watching the first half of this where you kind of get introduced to the society that they lived in, I was kind of really digging it. And I actually really liked his job, the Sandman job. Like
you would totally be a Sandman.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. Like hunting down some people who were trying to run out.
Stop, runner.
You'd probably be a better shot than this guy.
I appreciate that.
Oh my God, there's terrible shots. But the Sandmen are all wearing like these black uniforms.
Dude, I dig those uniforms too.
Stripes,
and then if you're a certain age, you're all in green. And then if you're a certain age, you go to yellow, and then you go to red.
Yeah. So
that's towards the end of your days.
So the youngest people are in green.
Yeah.
The ones in their middle age are in yellow.
And as far as I can tell, nobody has actual jobs in the society. You just all kind of hang out and do fun things and then wait until you die.
Yeah, it's basically a pleasure-based society. Yeah. And the central computer is the thing that kind of gives them everything they need, like food, medicine, clothing, stuff like that. And the people just exist. And it's kind of like an empty existence, but they don't know anything else other than that.
And then there's this like whole other part of the city where like these feral children
Oh, yeah.
live
What is it?
and they kill each other off.
What's it called? The
Cubs.
Cubs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't quite pick up on all that.
I don't know
why
why
they were there and stuff.
Yeah, I
but-
didn't understand why they
So
were there either.
they were like the outliers of society, like the ones that were too intelligent or too independent, whatever. They kind of banished them to this part of the city, and basically they all died by the time like they're 16 or whatever, because like they just like Lord of the Flies kind of like kill each other. And that's where they go to try to find like a runner who could possibly get them
To Sanctuary.
Yeah.
Okay. There's one thing I wanted to say about this beginning of the movie is I kind of got like a darker version of Luke Skywalker vibe from the main character. Like the feathered blonde hair and the tunics look very similar. Obviously he's in black, but he has the same basics. Like it must have been a 70s thing. Like this is what people in the future are going to dress
That's
like.
just what they look like.
Yeah, that's what people in the future dress like. But I thought it was cool. I got like I think the reason that I really dug this first half of the movie was because it felt very Star Warsy to me.
Well, I feel like I watched some background stuff, but I don't know if I can really get into it. Kadish can probably explain it more.
He talks enough. Go ahead.
But this movie was like the last of the pre-Star Wars era sci-fi movies that were made.
Mm-hmm.
These psychedelic, drug-addled, weird ass, goofy
People coming out of the 60s like, whoa.
Yeah, goofy, weird, experimental special effects,
Mm-hmm.
And then Star Wars came along and changed everything, of course,
Yeah,
But-
I actually think that this movie came out like a week before Star Wars did.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why it kind of got lost is because
Right.
Star Wars was just such a huge hit. It took it sucked all the oxygen out of this film.
Star Wars was 77. I thought this was 75.
Well,
Well, it came out in 76.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it was made in 75, came out in 76, and then Star Wars dropped the next year.
Dropped that nuclear bomb.
Yeah, and changed culture.
This is
I think
what
Star Wars made
stuff
something
is.
like $8 billion.
Yeah.
Something stupid,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, that's cool. Okay, so
because this if you watch this, I wasn't expecting the sets and some of the special effects to be as good as they were.
yeah,
Because I had just watched Deathrace 2000, and I'm like, man, this is shit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun, but it's shit. And then this came along, and they had that really badass miniature set of the city,
Mhm.
and it's just, I'm like, wow, this is cool. And then I'm going, wow, Elon Musk must be a fan of this thing.
Oh, the tube
Because
technology.
they got tube technology
Yeah.
and the boring underground stuff. And I mean, and the one scene where the pod car comes out of the tunnel, it looks exactly like what it looks like underneath the convention center right now
Yeah,
with the neon lights and everything. It's exactly the same thing.
it's cool, man.
It's weird.
Yeah, so
It's just-
basically there were two movies that came out before this, Soylent Green and Westworld.
right.
And those had been big science fiction hits, and science fiction was still kind of like one of those fringe genres during the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And so because the box office of that was so good, MGM thought that like, hey, maybe we should make a science fiction movie similar.
Right.
And they had the rights to the book for this, and they had been looking to do this movie for a long time. And so they made this movie. And then when Star Wars came out, everyone was like, science fiction.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
So you can definitely see where the budget is, because I did really appreciate how all of the sets, more or less all the sets, were practical. There was very few matte paintings, maybe a few here and there.
They did that to like all the practical sets are in Texas somewhere. They just used buildings in Texas, and
really?
That saved them like tremendous amount of money. Like every interesting kind of architecture that you see in this movie was from someplace in Dallas.
It's like,
No way.
It's like
that,
I want to take like a trip and go find that water processing plant at the end of the movie.
That's a cool freaking
It's-
set.
I think that's real. Somewhere.
It is real. It's called like the Water Gardens or something like that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I liked how they kind of like fed that into like, oh, this is how we get power. We use it to
Yeah.
generate power. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, that's freaking
That's
interesting.
Yeah, pretty much the only thing they spent money on was the costumes, I think.
Okay.
And there's got to be a mall somewhere that's the inside of the building where they're all running around with the escalators. and
Yeah.
everything. I go, that looks like they dressed up like a mall in LA somewhere.
Probably.
It does look
Something.
very mall-like.
Probably. Jude, what are your thoughts on this movie? How do you feel about it?
I love. Okay, so I loved Deathrace. Like I didn't have any information on either, and I was like, what is this? And then Deathrace blew me away. I loved it. This I enjoyed, but more so because I was watching it with Matt and Tom, and Tom was really drunk. So it was a blast, like watching it with them.
Tom was like, I love that no one's wearing a bra.
He's like, oh my God, all the girls in this movie are so fucking hot.
Dude, the 70s was a good time.
Yeah, chicks were looking good.
Yeah.
And like the whole movie, he was like, gosh, she's so pretty.
Yeah.
Dude, Farrah Fawcett Majors is in this.
Farrah
movie.
Fawcett is in this. Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah,
This is like pre
pre
Charlie's Angels, Farrah Fawcett, and I'm like, whoa.
And you know how she got cast was that Michael York was playing tennis at a country club, and she was on the tennis court next to him, and he was like, "Who's that? She's hot.
Yeah,
let's put her in this movie."
Was this the movie that like broke her? Was this her Undiscovered movie?
Yeah, this was her discovery.
No underwear, just a silky dude.
Yeah.
Amazing. Anyway, Jude, continue.
I forget what I was saying. But I loved Deathrace and I enjoyed this, but I don't recommend that you watch it by yourself unless you're like a film buff. But it's one of those movies that if you watch it with a group, you can kind of like make fun of like the differences between movies then and movies now, and that's kind of what makes it fun.
Okay.
So I enjoyed it, but
the story itself, you're kind of like, take it or leave it.
I was kind of confused.
Okay.
For a bit.
Right on. Okay, so moving on from the first half of the movie, the second half is kind of where it starts to lose me a little bit. I felt
when they get outside.
Yeah, when they get outside, things get really weird. They meet an old man who's like really obsessed with cats for some reason.
Oh, before that, they meet a robot that just freezes anyone that
that
leaves
was
the city.
super weird. I didn't know where that came
Box.
from. Box. Yeah. I mean, that
was originally supposed to be Sanctuary, and what Box was is he was one of these like robots,
like the last defense of the city or something.
No, he wasn't defense. He was meant to like serve the humans, but he just like the main computer, he malfunctioned, and so in order to protect the humans, he would put them in suspended animation by freezing them and effectively killing them, and preserving them in that sanctuary place.
Yeah, so that's why I was confused.
And it was a bird sanctuary, and so like all the birds he had frozen.
My birds, my birds.
So that was one of the things that was confusing to me. Like they get out of the city and they come to this place that's all like ice.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, Sanctuary is a trick. You just you leave the city and then they kill you. I was like, oh my God, that's genius. And then they go further and they leave that place. And then they're
in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, it turns out it's like D.C. and they're like trekking over to the Lincoln Memorial and they're like, oh my God, what happened to his face? Is that what happens when you become old? And I was like, settle down. It's a fucking statue.
I love how they equate beards with old age.
Yeah.
I don't get that.
Yeah, and then they go to the Library of Congress where this old man has been living there by himself for a long time, and he just has cats.
Yeah.
And
crazy cat,
that's when they decide, oh, we should let everyone in the city know that this is what they could have.
This old decrepit building with this guy with these
You could get
cats,
old and have they were like no one in the city's ever seen a cat before. And the old man's like, what?
What's the catchphrase that old man had? He's like, you don't say or something. He says something goofy like that every time. Oh,
it's like Peter Ustinov.
I don't understand.
Yeah, so that stuff was a bit weird for me.
It did get weird. It was very anticlimactic.
I thought what was weird, I'm going back to the freezing area, that robot box took me out of it.
Because it was just so bad.
It's a dude in a cardboard box wrapped in tinfoil.
It really was.
Yeah. It was awful.
Yeah. That was one of the worst robots I've seen in a while.
We're doing this stuff with Carousel where they're floating around, flying, exploding.
You could see the strings.
It's like okay, I'm thinking, okay, that's very 1975. But then they go 1932 Wizard of Oz guy with the box outfit. It was weird.
Wearing
the carousel effect was one of the most advanced special effects ever up to that time, because they actually had to build this huge mechanism that could bring people up on wires and make it look like they were flying.
Right.
And this wasn't you couldn't rotoscope back then. So you had to make sure that the wires were somewhat transparent.
Yeah. And
so it was very dangerous. It was very complicated. Yeah. And it was the height of special effects.
Yeah.
At the time.
And they did a fair job at it being in that time. They did a fair job of disguising the wires. But yeah, you could totally see them.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, for me, the first half of this movie is by far the more interesting one. I like the characters. I like the motivations. I thought it was very interesting. When they leave the city is when the movie starts to lose me. And I'm like, I don't understand why they're all enthralled. I can get hey, we're finally free. Freedom is what is drawing them out of the city. But that freedom is a jungle-covered dystopian. There's nothing
Yeah, there's not even any fish anymore. Like, bro, you better start eating those cats.
What is he eating this whole time? Like,
Nuts.
this dude's like 70.
He's cracking some walnuts when they come up.
Yeah. And you know what's weird is like this movie was surprisingly progressive for its time.
Yeah.
Like it had like homosexuality, it had like, you know, drug use, it had, you know, euthanasia or euthogenics or whatever that's called.
I don't know if that's a progressive value, but
well, I mean, like what I mean by progressive is like you didn't see this type of stuff in typical movies around this time period, and you know, like it's just a very interesting film because it doesn't shy away from some of the more like kind of controversial aspects of the time. Like there's a lot of sex in this movie.
Yeah. And like, in fact, like the concept of husband and wife was totally foreign to them. It was all just about like hooking up.
Free
It
love,
was a very
man.
hedonistic society.
Yeah.
Like that part where they escape from the kind of like plastic surgery place and they go into the love shop and there's just this big flashing vagina.
I
on the
totally
wall.
forgot about the love shop.
Yeah. And they go in there and it's like all black lights and people are just like naked and like
they're at the
and
swinger
having
club
sex.
down the street.
Oh yeah. They're just like trying to like get through there to get to something else, and they walk in. Everybody's just like humping them on the way. They're like trying to like get people
Could you
off
stop?
of them.
Could you get your genitals off of me,
Like,
please?
I'm just passing through, and they're like, "Yeah, you're gonna pass through."
and that was like a members only nightclub in Texas somewhere.
It's like a freaking Brazzers video going on.
Yeah, for real.
They just filmed it in there. But originally that scene was supposed to lead into another scene called the Hallucin Mill, where like everyone was like getting like high
on LSD.
And the studio was like, we're not gonna be able to release this movie if you have drug use and all this sex in it.
And the future is awesome.
Yeah. Like, why would you want to leave this city again? Because you want to live to be old? I don't get it.
In the year 3000.
and it's kind of funny because when they do come back to the city in order to tell everyone what they found, they just show up on a balcony and they just start yelling shit. And everyone's like, what are these crazy
You
people
can
talking
live!
about?
Like the dude, what's the actor's name?
Michael York.
Michael York. Like he's very
Also known as Basil Exposition.
Oh my God, I can't get Basil out of my head. Hello, Austin. How are you doing today?
It's like they're up there. There's plants.
There's plants. You can live.
And there's
this,
cats.
This old man has cats. It was.
You could grow a beard.
Yeah. And
You
everybody
can grow old
everybody-
and have prostate problems.
I love any movie where the character is like 14 being played by like a 30-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it was kind of funny because like they aged it up to 30 from the book because they were like, none of our actors can pass for 20.
Yeah.
Two of them were under
I think
30.
Michael York, right?
Yeah.
I think he was like 34, 35 when he made this, playing a 26-year-old.
So the video that I saw said Michael York, I believe, was 32.
Okay.
Farrah Fawcett and the girlfriend were the only two in the cast that were under 30.
Yes.
Interesting. All right.
And the girlfriend was like really young.
I think she was in her 20s.
Yeah, low 20s.
But playing like an 18-year-old.
Yeah. So
It's a strange movie. There's a lot of things I like about it, but honestly, the story falls apart after they leave. I stopped caring. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I don't know why anybody would want to go and live with a bunch of cats.
Slowed down. In terms of like, because up until that point, like you're seeing like these new futuristic places. It's like they're being chased. There's like some type of forward momentum, and then once they get outside, they're just kind of like aimless and wandering around, and you're just like, when is this gonna get back on track?
They go skinny dipping. They hear about husband and wife, so they're like, yeah, we'll do that. I'm gonna call you that from now
You're my
on.
beloved husband.
They meet cats. Francis shows up and tries to kill them. Then they end up killing Francis.
That was a pretty good fight.
That was a good fight.
Okay. Yeah.
I do like the laser, like typically, especially because growing up with Star Wars and stuff, when you see a laser gun, it's always like the red beam that flashes across. I like that this is like an invisible beam because it's actually more accurate to what would be a laser gun.
With a little smoke
feel
puff.
like
a little smoke puffs up, yeah.
I feel like the laser guns are really unreliable though. Like there was one scene where the guy's just standing against a wall.
And he just shoots around him.
There's nothing else there. There's two people shooting at him, and you could just see them just hitting like between his legs against the wall, behind his shoulder against the wall, and they'd like shoot him like 100 times, never hit him.
Well, it's funny because those guns were actually like just butane tanks hooked up to like this like little thing that was supposed to like have like a spark that would ignite it and create those flames out the side, and they would misfire constantly and like just wouldn't work right. And so like I think like they just cobbled together what they could.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's going to be like a booth at the convention this year that's selling stuff like that.
little laser
Like
guns.
Logan's Run.
Logan's Run
gun
laser guns.
replicas.
Well, they've been trying to get a reboot of this off the ground for like over a decade
Man,
now.
I think I'd go watch that.
And last I heard, Ryan Gosling was attached to be Logan,
Okay.
but
all right.
but nothing's really happened
It's
with
a
it.
little.
Mostly because MGM sold off a lot of like their assets, and I think the rights to this was one of them. And so I think Warner Brothers now owns it, and it's been
Oh.
in like
As long
development
as-
hell for like a
oh,
long
God.
time.
As long
Warner
as-
Brothers.
I don't want Disney to get a hold of this thing.
No.
Well, I mean, it's on HBO Max, so Warner's definitely
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
has
that's
the
fine.
rights to it. But it'd be nice if like they kind of came up with a more modern version of this. I think it'd be like a lot more interesting.
I know. I enjoyed this movie.
It was fun.
Yeah.
But like I said,
I saw this movie a long time ago when I was a kid, and I've seen it like bits and pieces of it since
Yeah.
then. And I always thought it was kind of like stupid and boring. And upon rewatch, it plays a little bit better as an adult.
Yeah,
but
I
not
think-
much.
I think this is one of those movies that if you're gonna like just go down a science fiction rabbit hole and you want to watch
yeah.
sci-fi and what it comes from, what the foundation of modern day sci-fi is and stuff, this is a good watch to go back.
I'd actually
kind
be
of check out.
Curious to
because-
check out the book that it comes from, because that
Yeah.
whole going to space thing, that's where Sanctuary is. That seems more like a modern take.
I believe the author of the book also has some Star Trek connections too, right?
Hmm.
I'm not sure, but I know that after the movie hit big, he decided to write some sequels. So they're like 2 or 3 sequels to the book, and Marvel Comics did a comic book version of it as well. So there is some continuation to
Well,
the story.
there's a 1 season long TV series
Yeah.
that
There
sprung
is?
out of this too. Yeah, I think it's basically just a retelling of the movie.
Oh, okay.
You know, kind of like what they did with the Planet of the Apes stuff,
Yeah.
maybe. But I think you can see it on HBO Max too.
Well, they released it the same year as Star Wars, and they did that instead of a sequel. And they didn't even air the full season because
Yeah.
like there was just no interest in it.
Well, this is when Star Wars, because like everybody was trying to find their sci-fi thing. It's like Battlestar Galactica and Logan's Run and
Star Trek and Star Wars.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we all got to have our sci-fi thing, you
Yeah.
know. So it's like
Nowadays, everybody-
it's superheroes.
Yeah. Nowadays,
And
everybody's gonna find their
zombies.
superhero
Did
stuff.
you guys also notice that there's only white people in this future?
Oh my God, why'd you have to go there?
No, I didn't.
No, it was funny because like Jude pointed out, she's like, I don't see any like black people
It's
or,
very-
or Asian people. Or
Zero
anyone.
brown
Yeah.
skin
No.
in this whole movie.
So if they ever were to make a reboot, that's definitely going to be changed. There's going
Oh,
to be
for
a
sure.
highly diverse cast.
Which is
Whatever. It's a
Whatever.
utopian future.
I
Just
also think
go
it's
for
really
it.
funny, like straight from the beginning, this girl, Jessica, right? Jessica. She comes out of the chat roulette thing
the chat
and
roulette
she's
thing.
wearing just like a scarf and
Yeah.
nothing else, but she's wearing this choker that has this giant Ankh symbol
Yeah,
on
it's
it.
the Egyptian cross, right? Is that what that
Yeah,
is?
but that's the symbol for sanctuary, and it's big. It's like half the size of her head, and she's just walking around
She
with
doesn't know what it
it.
means.
But then, like the next day, the computer's like,
What is the symbol?
do you recognize this symbol? This
Yeah.
is the symbol for sanctuary, and like all of it, like, and it was like, why don't you just like grab her, put her in the chair, and be like,
What does this mean?
what? Yeah, where'd
Yeah.
you get this?
But didn't she say
Like,
she doesn't even know though?
And if
But
there's-
like, where did she get it?
Yeah. I liked when they went into the underground of the city and it's like the big turbines and everything.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is weird. What is this place? I like that thing. There's a lot I like about this movie. It's just, it failed at the ending for me. I stopped caring
I get it.
by the
Yeah.
end.
Yeah.
By the last 30
Yeah.
minutes, I was
you
like, fuck.
have to not care in order to appreciate this movie.
J.J. Abrams did so.
It kind of did, yeah.
I like how at the end they drag the old man back to the city.
Everybody's just touching him.
and they're like, but they get there before they go back in and they come up to the water hole. And he's all like, no, I'm not going in there.
I'm not swimming.
Fuck that.
Are you kidding me?
It's like, you can bring him out to me, I guess.
Classic old man stuff. All right, let's do final thoughts, rating. Vader, what do you give this thing?
Let's see. 2.5. Like
Okay.
I said, I think people should watch this movie. It's a cool movie. It's kind of fun. But like you said, I agree. Once they get out of the city, it kind of loses itself. You know, I was a little bit intrigued by the Washington, D.C. stuff, but not that much.
Did they ever say
You know.
what caused the calamity?
No.
Was it
I
overpopulation?
just assumed overpopulation.
Okay.
You know, it doesn't matter.
No, I
something
got-
bad happened.
I suppose it
Yeah.
doesn't, but they
Yeah.
talk about, they hint at it in the movie. They're like,
Yeah, I'd have to- I'd have to
after
go back and read the-
post calamity or something.
I have to go back and read the beginning little. There's like one of those screens.
Yeah.
It's like 2 paragraphs long at the beginning of the movie, which I kind of appreciate.
I wonder if that actually explains it. Maybe I just missed
It
it.
might a little bit,
I probably should read that.
but no, 2.5.
Okay.
I think especially for the movies we're watching today on that scale.
Right on.
Yeah, it's fun. I give it a watch. Sure.
Jude?
I enjoyed it. Like I said, it didn't blow me away. And there's like a lot of filters that you have to give yourself in order to enjoy this movie. Like you have to not care and you have to suspend your disbelief. And then you have to be like, does that matter? So there's a lot that you kind of have to like tell yourself in order to like prepare yourself for watching this and being able to like enjoy it. So is it a 4 or a 5 out of 5? No, it is not. But like, I think it's a good watch. It's a fun watch. I'll probably never want to watch it again. I don't need to show this to anyone and be like, look how cool this movie is. Does it hold up? No. But it's fun. It's fun. So for me, in the genre of 70s dystopian movies, I give it a 2 out of 5 Farrah Fawcett's.
Okay, cool. Kadish, how about you, buddy?
Yeah, it was kind of funny seeing a young Farrah Fawcett in this. I mean, she's gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
And she was married to Lee Majors, the $6 million man at the time.
I miss feathered hair.
Yeah.
God, it looks so good.
And like this movie, I've never been a big fan of this movie. But you know, upon the rewatch, I kind of appreciated it more than I had when I was younger. I don't know why. Maybe it's just my taste have kind of matured a little bit. But the ideas in this movie, the imagination behind it, I feel like, you know, it was pretty interesting, and I could see like a modern day remake of this being really good.
Yeah,
you know, if they got the right people behind it. But you know, overall, I'd probably give this like same rating as Vader, like a 2.5. Old man beards out of 5.
I love that one. I agree with you.
Yeah.
So like overall, like it's an enjoyable film upon the rewatch, and it's got some good ideas behind it, but for the most part, like I feel like there are better dystopian movies out there.
Like the next one we're going to talk
So
about.
what I would do is I would make a movie where it's a cross between this and Planet of the Apes, where they're on the same planet but they don't know each other.
Ooh.
And they like mix.
Ooh.
Yeah, that'd be kind of
Bunch of young people who don't know what the outside world looks like.
But
One of them escapes, and it's just Planet of the Apes.
Yeah,
and with more boobs.
And
more
more
boobs.
boobs.
Yeah, yeah.
8 boobs too. We need 8 boobs in there. Okay, so for me, I'm kind of with you guys. It's like a solid 2. I really like the first half. I really like it. Like I was surprisingly into the whole story. I was invested. I love the 70s, like what the future is going to look like, the tube technology stuff. It's all really, really cool. I like Logan.
Did you know that originally John Voight was supposed to play Logan?
I don't think I would have liked it as much. I need Basil. Basil's the man. But then it totally, once you meet the robot, it totally just falls off. I was like, okay, this is 70s.
Also, I think William Devane was originally supposed to play Francis.
Yeah.
And you know, he's the gold guy now. You see him on all the gold commercials, and he's in this movie with Mel Gibson called Payback. And when Mel Gibson kills him, he does like this disco move where his arm. So I always used to call him Disco Devane.
Anyway, it's solid 2, fun movie, definitely worth checking out. It's on HBO. If you have HBO Max, go watch it. It's not a bad movie. It's definitely like a nice little glimpse into the past and what movies, sci-fi movies used to look like before Star Wars. All right, guys, that's our discussion for Logan's Run. Thanks for tuning in. Next, we're going to talk about The Warriors. So stay tuned. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Hey, if you'd like to support the podcast and join our Discord server, there's a link down below in the video description. Jump in there. We are trying to grow our Discord app and spend more time there. We do watch parties once in a while. We watch Norsemen, different movies that we're going to do for the podcast. I'll hop in there and you guys can join us, hang out, watch the movie together, chat. We have our exclusive Patreon Discord channel as well as our League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. So hop in there, join the Patreon, shout us out, let us know that you're there. We'll give you a role and we'll have a good time. Okay, guys.
Salty nerds, come out and play.
I could do it with shot glasses.
Can you dig it? All right, I got to say one thing before we get into this movie. Is Morpheus' speech from The Matrix Reloaded based off of this freaking movie? Because that's all I can think of.
I don't know.
Cypress, is that his name?
Cyrus.
When he gets up there and he talks to the gang and it's Morpheus. I can't help but see it. I'm like, is that what Morpheus' speech is based off of?
Could be.
So you know what's funny is that the Cyrus character, they originally cast an actual like gang leader in that role. and they had him scheduled. They had him paid. You know, all the costumes were ready, and the day of the shoot, he didn't show up. And
I thought you were going to say somebody killed him.
well,
Maybe.
they'd never heard or seen from him again.
Oh, God.
And so like they had to go and get like a theater actor from New York to come in at the last minute and take that role.
Oh.
And I just thought it was funny. It's like, yeah, they spent all this time and money preparing this actual gang leader, and he just disappears on the day that he's supposed to be in this movie.
I'm a little bit afraid to talk about this movie
Why?
because it's growing on me the more I think about it. But my initial watch of this, I really didn't like it. I thought it was kind of weird, but I've kind of dove into it a little bit, and I had no idea that there was such a massive, rabid following
Oh yeah,
of this movie.
it's a cult classic.
It's crazy cult classic
Yeah.
movie. I had no idea it was such a popular movie.
So you don't want to like shit on it?
I don't want to shit on it because I'm afraid somebody's gonna like beat my ass. You know, it's just like,
You would just be going to the grocery store and people
yeah,
would be
it's
like,
oh,
hey.
you didn't like the Warriors?
Fuck you.
It was like run me down with a shopping cart. Or
I'll just say this.
Mhm.
I am never going to be intimidated by a dude in rollerblades.
No.
All right, well, let me tell you about
Yeah.
it.
Jude, tell us about Warriors.
All right, 1979, The Warriors, rated R with a runtime of 1 hour, 32 minutes. Had a budget of $4 million. What do you think?
$4 million bucks. Oh, I'm not going to make the same mistake I made with Logan's Run. I'm going to say it made $7 million.
Vader?
I'm gonna stick with 2025.
$22 million.
God damn, these
Yeah.
movies were way more popular
People
than I
love
thought.
this
right?
movie.
Okay.
Okay, so
Huh.
it's sometime in the near future.
See, stop.
What?
Okay, because I don't get that. So like, I know we're the theme this week is 70s dystopian movies.
Yeah.
This just looks like 1975 New York.
This is
with
pre-Giuliani in New
weird-
York.
with weird ass gangs.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
It doesn't
I
seem
don't.
like it's
what
the
makes
future.
it? What makes it dystopian?
Well, when did this come out?
You know, that's what I want to know.
79.
Mhm.
So they're assuming this is like 1985. I guess they would assume things got worse.
I didn't
think
get that at
it
all.
just-
I think intentionally they don't tell you because they just want to say like sometime in the near future society is messed up and this is what it's like.
It's-
and
yeah.
Ambiguous.
yeah, because
Mhm.
most of these movies it's like 1997, the far future.
Right.
Whereas with this one, it's just kind of like it could be at any point.
Yeah.
Maybe
Mhm.
But there's-
society's regressed to this point.
But cops still exist.
Yes.
Like society, there's still some normalcy in society.
Yes.
So it's not quite a dystopian like you would think of with like Escape from New York or Deathrace 2000.
Right.
There's still some normal version of society
but
out there.
But it's a city where 60,000 gang members
Yeah.
exist.
Basically,
and outnumber the cops.
If you live in the city, you are part of a gang.
It's just I was
Pretty
I was
Yeah.
having a hard time figuring out the dystopian part here. That was my only.
This is a world where like there just are gangs everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's ambiguously aged, I think, in order to like make it timeless.
Okay.
Which I think works. What doesn't work is how scary these people are.
It's such a weird time
It's
for
very
me.
silly.
because I figured, oh look, the Sweat Hogs made a gang.
It's just a bunch of cosplayers.
So,
All right. Well, let me give you the synopsis.
All right,
Go ahead, Jude.
Before I was so rudely interrupted.
I just needed to ask that question. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
It's sometime in the near future after 1979, assuming. At the big gang convention, Cyrus, the big unifying gang prophet guy, gets shot and the gang responsible for it casts the blame onto the Warriors, a Coney Island gang. As the cops show up, breaking apart the gang rally, members of other gangs swarm the leader of the Warriors, beating him, leaving his war chief, Swan, in charge of getting the remaining 8 Warriors home. Since the convention was weapons-free, they have to make their way back from the Bronx to Coney Island using only their wits, when every single gang between them and home is after them. We're talking mimes, roller skating farm boys, baseball fairies, even the Lizzies, you guys.
The Lesbies.
The orphans.
You're not allowed to say lesbian in
There,
movies.
right there. He said suckers.
No, he did not.
Yes, he did.
No, he did not.
For fuck's sake.
I'm sorry. We're watching it right now, and me and Vader have an argument.
We'll get to that later.
Okay, anyway, Meanwhile, Dexter's dad is looking for an opportunity to usurp War Chief as leader, but then his dick gets him arrested. The remaining...
He's also looking for a reason to rape some bitches.
Oh my
he
God,
loves
dude.
rape. He loves rape. The remaining warriors make their way to Coney Island, only to find that those who hold them responsible for Cyrus's death are already there waiting for him. Them. Waiting for them.
Yeah.
Please discuss.
Okay, so this is like a 70s gang version of Lord of the Rings.
Kind of.
Just walk from point A to point B.
It's
What other movie is this like? It's just
all right.
it's the
so-
Odyssey, right?
The Odyssey.
So,
Oh yeah. Okay.
so this is actually, there are two levels to this. So first of all, it's based on a book called the Warriors, even though the gang in the book is called the Dominators, not the Warriors, which is kind of weird.
It's a good change.
They're the Doms.
But
I like it.
But the book is by this guy named Saul Urich, and he based the plot of the book of the Warriors having to make it from the Bronx to Coney Island on Xenophon's Anabasis, and Xenophon was the head of a group of mercenaries called the 10,000 Man Army, who basically they were hired by this guy who wanted to usurp the Persian throne. He was the brother of the Persian king. And so he led them deep into Persian territory and won the Battle of Cunaxa in 401 BC.
That is a super deep cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Super
but,
deep
but,
cut.
but the thing is like in this battle, all their leaders got killed. And so Xenophon was elected to be the leader of this mercenary group, and they were deep behind enemy lines, and they had to make their way to the Black Sea. And so it was like a 1,000-mile journey where they were constantly fighting through Persian armies, like hostile villages. They were having to cross deserts and find food and basically fight their way through to safety. And it was like this really famous kind of like Greek historical account. And, they would fight Spartans and all this other crazy stuff.
Neat.
And basically Saul Urich took that and turned it into, instead of Persians, it was gangs. And the gangs in the book are very different from the gangs in the movie, where they're a little bit more realistic and they're younger. Walter Hill, when he came on board with this movie, he really kind of wanted to make it like a little bit more hyper stylized. So like he kind of used comic books as his inspiration for a lot of these gangs, and he made them basically just caricatures almost.
For sure he
Oh
did.
yeah.
Because he wanted to kind of like he wanted to make it very violent, and he felt that making things a little bit more cartoony would kind of like allow him to get away with more,
Okay.
which I thought was interesting.
That is fascinating that it's based off of some old ancient Greek mythology stuff. That's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, except it wasn't mythology. It was like an
An actual-
historical
yeah.
record. Yeah.
Yeah. That's dope. I like that. That's cool.
Should we talk about the different gangs?
I would love to talk about it. Which one is your favorite gang, Jude?
Oh.
I hate the orphans. Those
Oh
dirty,
my God.
those
the
dirty
orphans.
bastards.
Yeah. Nobody
Is it-
likes the orphans.
Okay, so that's one of the first gangs that we run into. Is like they're trying to make their way back to Coney Island, and they run into this gang called the Orphans, and they're just in like jeans and ratty t-shirts that have the orphans on the back of the t-shirt, and they like threaten them. And they're like, "What are you doing, walking through our territory?" And then they eventually decide like they're gonna let them go. But then this girl comes, and she's
Mercy.
like, "Yeah." This girl comes and she's like, "You guys are just a bunch of pussies. You never fight for anything. How can I respect you?" And they're like, "Shut up, woman." And then they're like, "Okay, well, if you want to walk through our territory, you have to take off your colors."
Yeah.
And they're like, "No, fuck that. We're
Yeah.
never taking our colors off." And they're
Well-
like, "Okay." And then they all just leave.
Hold on. One of the funny things about this is like, so they parlay with the orphans because the orphans outnumber them in their territory. There are only 8 warriors at this point. And they actually come to an agreement where it's like, "Hey, we're not looking to cause any problems. We just want to make our way home." And they're like, "All right, you can go through our territory in peace." And then Mercy shows up, and she starts
yeah.
like emasculating the orphans, and the orphans are like, "We really don't want to fight these guys because like we suck."
They're gonna kick
Right.
our ass.
But they're like, "Okay, well, they keep trying to figure out ways in which they can save face and like let these guys go through." And at a certain point, the warriors are just like, "Fuck no!" It's like, "Come at us,"
These guys are like the world's worst gang.
Yeah.
Dude,
Their
Oh, yeah.
leader's got like a draggy eye, right? and They got their outfits from like t-shirts
He
plus.
looks like he has a sty.
The Warriors
the iron-on place at the mall. They got their shirts.
Yeah,
from.
like the green shirts just in the back on with magic marker have
orphans
Yeah,
written on
it's
it. Dude, the
ridiculous.
freaking Warriors are so badass.
Yeah.
That one dude's just got a freaking firebomb around his neck
Yeah.
at all times.
The coach, he's got his Indian
And
headdress on
and
and shit.
dude, the way he lights the freaking bomb is he rips the skirt off the chick that he's threatening to run a train
Yeah,
on,
right.
and then throws it at a car,
which she kind of likes.
which she's kind of into apparently.
Well, they called it. They were like,
you.
you look like you'd like that.
Well,
Dirty whore.
how hot is Deborah Van Valkenburg?
Is that the chick?
Yeah, in the movie, her character's name is Mercy.
She ain't into my.
Her name's Van Valkenburg.
Yeah,
But another example of like how
What?
women did not wear bras, and she's like running through
Oh,
the
yeah.
city in just this like
Yeah, but
silk
she's like
tank
a-
She
top.
doesn't.
She's like an A cup.
Yeah, she's.
She doesn't even have to do this though.
I know she's tiny, but that's not a bad thing.
It's like that 1970s sheer kind of almost see-through thing. You're
Yeah.
like, yeah, kind of.
I'm not complaining.
Kinda like
I'm just
that,
saying she's
yeah.
not running around with like
so you know what's funny is later on she like shows up with like this jacket, and the reason that she's wearing the jacket, they kind of explain it in the movie that like, oh, I stole it off someone because like they're looking for someone wearing pink.
Does somebody say, "Hey, we can see your tits through your shirt"?
Well, what happened is, so like originally she was supposed to be Fox's love interest instead of Swan's, and the guy who played Fox got fired 8 weeks into the shoot because like he just was clashing with the director so much. So Walter Hill just like fired him, and that's one of the reasons why they kill him off in the movie is
Yeah,
basically
he gets hit by a subway, right?
yeah. So he gets a cop throws him into a subway track as a train's coming along, but you can clearly see it's not that actor in that scene. Like they use like a stand-in for him, and the stand-in, like he's running down these subway steps holding Mercy's hand, and basically he accidentally broke her arm because like he was holding on so tight when he like fell at one point.
Oh my god!
And so like she was wearing that jacket to hide her cast
Oh
for the
my
rest of the movie.
God.
wow, that's crazy.
Oh, that worked, I guess.
Poor girl. You know what? The 70s and 80s, you can literally do whatever you want
Oh,
to
yeah.
a woman.
Yeah,
They just be like, "Are you going to show up to work?"
are you getting paid?
Well,
Be happy.
I have to admit, I just about lost it when they said, "Well, we're just going to run a train on you." I'm like, "What?"
Yeah, and
That
they
is
say it so,
inappropriate.
casually too. Because like in the book, they actually do rape her
God
Oh my
damn.
God.
and just like leave her and go about their merry way.
Jesus, that's dark.
Yeah,
That's nuts.
Jude's, look at Jude. Jude's like, holy shit.
These are our heroes.
It's like, he's totally abusive of this woman.
Oh, very.
He threatens her with a gang rape, and it's
Or
just-
even the one dude who's like just randomly passes a chick sitting on a bench and he's like, you know what we're going to do to this lady,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Ajax.
Yeah, it's just like, what is wrong
and
with
all,
you?
It's like it's why like I said earlier, it's like I don't know why people like this movie.
Yeah,
Because these guys are all assholes, man.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is like at a certain point in the original script, Swan is supposed to get abducted by like a gay gang, and like they're going to rape him,
Rape his
in
ass,
the movie,
yeah.
but like they decided to cut that out of the movie.
Jeez, man, this movie could have been wild.
But what's funny is like to Jude's point about how like you could just do anything to anybody. So they shot this movie in New York at night in the 1970s, and so actual gangs were like trying to like mess with them, like they'd come up and try to like beat them up, or like steal the equipment, or like basically hurt the people working on this movie because it was like dangerous to shoot in New York at this time. And the production actually hired a real gang to watch over their equipment.
Watch security.
So yeah,
That's awesome.
That's
to be
badass.
security because other gangs would like try to steal it or break it or something like that.
Wow.
So like during this entire
Tag
movie,
your camera and
yeah,
shit.
Yeah.
during this entire movie, all the outdoor locations are like they didn't dress these up. This is actually how it looked in New York in the 1970s. And they were in constant danger. Like they weren't allowed to wear their red vests offset because of gang colors, and gangs would target them if they were wearing those outside of the set.
So there's a lot of extras in the first scene
Yeah, there's 1,000.
at the rally. Do you think that some of those were actual gang members?
Oh, for sure.
Oh,
They
yeah.
absolutely were.
I bet they
In fact,
were.
there's a little mini documentary I think on YouTube.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I should check it
I
out.
need to
That
watch
addresses
that.
that.
Okay, so there's one thing before we've kind of moved on to like more towards the middle of the movie, but in the very beginning of the movie, when the assassination happens and the spotlight shines on the guy who actually shot the gun, and it's just his face, and he's got this like creepy ass smile and this
Luther.
big sharp chin and everything. That dude looks straight like he could be the Joker in a Batman movie.
Yes.
Like
David Patrick.
I
Kelly.
feel like
Yeah.
Batman would exist in this universe.
Did you recognize him from The Crow?
Fire it up.
Was that him?
Fire
Oh
it
shit!
up.
No, I didn't
I didn't
recognize
recognize
him.
him either.
That's awesome. That's
He was
cool.
in Twin Peaks.
Yeah,
too,
yeah,
right?
he was in Twin Peaks.
But just like what, like that scene, I was like, I'm like, that's the freaking Joker, bro. Like
he is
that's
so
crazy.
creepy, but like I mean it in a good way. Like he's
Yeah.
so believable
Yeah.
as this
Well, he's
character.
and that whole like
Clink,
Warriors
clink,
come out. and
clink.
That
play.
was
Let me
just
guess, that was
him.
him,
Like,
right?
He ad-libbed that.
Yeah.
And it was based off because like his next door neighbor used to do that to him.
Warriors,
where it'd be
come
like-
out and play.
Yeah. He'd be like, David, come out and play. And it would always like freak him out. And so
Oh God, that would freak me out if I had
Nailed
a weird,
it.
weird pedo neighbor with beer bottles. It's like,
I'm gonna start waking Kadish up by doing that.
clink, clink, shot glasses.
what are you gonna do with that bottle, bro? It's kind of weird.
No, that was super cool. It was a really like weird moment for me when I was watching the movie, and I was like, my gosh, this feels like Batman could exist. You know, like we always know.
Oh
Like,
no, this wouldn't happen if Batman was around.
no, I'm saying like
These people would all be in jail.
no, I'm saying, listen to me for a second. Like in this world, in the 19, you know, in this the Warriors universe that it creates with all these different gang members that are like overly cartoony and kind of like dress in sequence and all that stuff. Like this feels like something Batman would run into in like the underbelly of
Oh, you
Gotham
mean
City.
with all the goofy ass
Yeah.
themes to the
Gangs and stuff, like the
gangs.
Joker's gang, they all wear face paint and stuff like that. Like,
the baseball furries.
yeah.
Furies,
so let's talk about the baseball Furies for a second. So Walter
Oh,
Hill.
is it Furies?
Furies,
I thought
yeah.
it was fairies. I was like, that's funny.
Is that
They
why
call
you
them-
said that?
Yeah.
Oh,
I was like, they call themselves the baseball fairies.
I
That's
thought
so
you were.
funny.
I thought you were making fun of them.
No, I really thought that's what they called
Oh,
themselves.
God.
No. So the baseball Furies, Walter Hill's.
That makes more sense.
Walter Hill's favorite sport is baseball, and he's also a huge fan of the band Kiss. And so he wanted a gang that
Oh.
combined those two. And so, like, basically, he had like the Kiss face paint with like
Perfect.
the baseball outfits.
Swing and a miss, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh no, I think he nailed it.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
if
Oh,
you're
yeah.
if you're gonna cosplay, you're gonna be a baseball fury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you're gonna be a warrior, but then you have to have a jacket made.
And you have to have a 6-pack.
Yeah. So
Because
like,
all the Warriors have 6-packs.
so like the big gangs in this are the baseball Furies, the Orphans, the Lizzies, which was my favorite because it's just this
I bet
lesbian
it was.
gang. Yeah, it was.
The harpies from
Yeah.
the Odyssey.
Yeah, and then the guys on the ice skate or the rollerblades are called the Rogues.
I thought they were
Okay.
the punks.
Oh,
They're-
you're right. Yeah, those guys are the punks.
Yeah.
The ones that the bad guy Luther runs is called the Rogues.
Is that the samurai dudes from the subway train station?
Samurai dudes?
Yeah, with all the samurai robes and shit. That's what I got. That's how I took
Oh,
it.
okay.
I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but that's the impression that I got.
No, the Rogues
Is
look
that he was like a shogun in front of all of his samurai warriors.
I
doing his
think
speech.
the Rogues were like the biker from the Village People guys.
Yeah.
They just wore
Okay.
like black leather. They were at the end on the beach where they were facing off with the
They had
Warriors.
so many weird gigs, like the dudes in like the purple like tap dancing outfits. And
Yeah.
Yes.
stuff.
And then there was
His-
straight up just a bunch of mimes.
Yeah, mimes. That was a weird
the
one.
mime gang.
Yeah.
Get the hell away from those guys. They're gonna put me in their box and shit.
The Lizzies were
Oh,
pretty badass though. They had actual guns.
I
They
just
couldn't hit nothing with them.
I just think of the mime fight scene in Eurotrip whenever
Yeah.
I think of like the mimes trying to like
My balls.
my robot balls. Ha ha ha.
Oh man.
I don't know. I mean, I thought the Warriors, these guys were dumb. It's like they get split up. Then the guys they find the Lizzies. And they're like, oh, all right, we're gonna go hook up with these chicks, and it's just like they give zero shits.
Oh yeah, it's very
About getting
important that
home.
we get back to Union Station. But after we fuck.
What's interesting is a lot more of the Warriors were originally supposed to die on the way home. So like with the Lizzies, it was Vermin who was supposed to die, and the Walter Hill liked him so much they decided to keep him alive.
But weren't they supposed to start off with more than 9?
No, it was 9.
It was always 9.
And their leader instantly gets killed.
Yeah.
Which basically throws the group into like this crisis, and the war chief Swan gets put in charge. And on their way home, Fox dies by getting thrown in front of the subway, and Ajax gets arrested.
Yes.
And
Dexter's
then,
dad.
Yeah, Dexter's dad.
Oh, that's who that is.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't know that?
I recognize them, and I'm like, I always get him and Clancy Brown mixed up.
Hmm.
Like they're
Yeah, James Remar.
yeah.
So when they go to the Lizzies, originally Vermin was supposed to get killed by the Lizzies as they were trying to escape, and I think their fight with the punks claimed one of them, which was either Cochise or Cowboy. It was one of those two.
Which ones were the punks again? Were they the bib overall guys?
They were the roller skaters.
The roller
Okay,
skate
yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
Well, they did have overalls though.
Yeah.
That was actually
I thought they were like roller skater farmers.
that's what I kind of
Yeah.
I felt the same way.
Well, they were punks.
I guess
know,
did
man.
punks wear overalls back in the day? I don't know.
I thought they were just like, hey,
think
what can
so.
we dress these guys up as to where they all look the same?
Well, we got a bunch of these jean overalls.
Yeah.
Those look badass, right?
Well, in the book, the Dominators, who was like the warriors in this movie, they wore like these zoot suit kind of like overcoat, like, suit coats and like straw hats with Mercedes-Benz emblems tied to them. It was very weird. It was basically the book. It came out after the 1950s, and so like it was like a response to the 50s kind of concept of what gangs looked like. And they're like, oh, this is more realistic than what the 1950s gangs looked like. And this movie was just like, oh, we don't care about realism. We're just gonna do like
We're
fun.
just gonna make it look silly.
I think the leather jacket or leather vests are definitely the way to go. That's
Red
actually
leather is the most badass
Yellow
of all
leather.
badassness.
yeah, 100%. And if you have the leather pants to match,
And if you can get away with not wearing a shirt,
that's what I
Under
said.
that
All these
red
freaking
vest?
dudes have freaking six packs, man.
I know.
I don't know.
There's
If,
like one dude wearing a shirt.
yeah, he's the
1, 2.
Is it the artist guy?
yeah. Look at that dude, man. He's just freaking
He's such
is
a
it
badass.
Rembrandt?
No,
He's wearing the
it's not.
Indian
I think
headdress.
I want to say it's Fox.
Okay.
Anyway, okay. So my favorite scene in this movie is the fight scene between the punks and the warriors in the subway bathroom.
Okay.
I was surprised.
Oh, yeah.
I was surprised at how good that fight scene was. Because we've got a little bit of action here and there, but it's mostly just them running away.
Yeah.
And this was the first scene where we actually get to see them like stand up for themselves and see.
And it's also pretty silly.
It's
'Cause
very
each member is just hiding in a stall.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they like time it. They're like 3, 2, 1.
Bust out. They all bust out of the stalls, start beating the crap out of each other.
Rembrandt just comes out with his spray paint, just
Yeah,
sprays the
just-
guy in the face.
And
That's
it's,
awesome.
it's funny how bad Rembrandt is at art. Like he
Oh,
does,
yeah.
he does like
He's
one
like
spray paint.
the gang artist, and he just does like a sloppy W.
Oh, no, yeah, it's awful.
It's like, you see this? I want this painted all over the town, man.
But you know what? It's red, and he probably chose that. So
It's red and it's a W.
Well,
Yeah.
well, what's funny is like the subway is like they didn't have to do anything to those subway drains. Like
No.
that was actually how it
That's
Right.
rough though.
Yeah.
Like you go down there and they're like missing tiles.
Dude, New York in the 70s was like
Sketchy.
Just-
it's like San
disgusting.
Francisco, and now.
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, but
Less human feces though, maybe. I don't know.
that subway bathroom that they fought the punks in, that was the only set that was built for this movie. Everything else was practical location.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, they sold it. I thought it was just part of the set, but that's pretty cool though. Yeah, that was my favorite scene. Vader, do you have a? You said you're kind of on the fence about this movie.
This movie felt a little goofy to me. I liked it.
Not in a good way, because Deathrace was goofy too.
Deathrace was goofy good. This race was just kind of goofy. I don't know. It just
I think it's meant to be though.
yeah, it is, and that's why I'm trying not to be too hard on it. It just the stupid gang names and the dumb outfits and the face paint and stuff. It just I'm having a hard time buying into the whole thing.
I got a real Escape from New York vibe. From
Yes.
this.
yeah,
Me
yeah,
too.
for sure. I totally can see that. It is just maybe my attitude while I was watching the movie maybe it wasn't as good as it should have been. I don't know. I try to figure out reasons why. I was my blood sugar off or something when I watched this movie.
Was I being possessed
Because,
by demons?
I mean, literally everybody I know that has seen this movie, they love this movie. But they also like Welcome Back, Kotter.
Yeah.
And I just that time frame, that time period, I think it's an ugly time period to me. The early mid 70s, bell bottoms and
Afros.
and hair everywhere and hippies and it's just I've never been into that.
Okay,
And it's
well,
just-
I want to give you credit
it's
for
just-
coming out and saying that you don't love this movie, because we were talking during the break. while we weren't recording, that this is one of those movies that people like to pretend that they have seen it, they know it, they love it, and it's just one of those movies that you have to love it. So I give you credit for coming out and being like, you know what, I don't love this movie.
Yeah.
What would you give it for a rating?
A 2.
Well, you gave the other ones a 2.
Yeah. I give it a 2.5. It's like I'd give this like probably a,
Was this your least favorite?
It's my least favorite movie of the day.
Okay.
Which is, weird because those other 2 movies were weird.
Very weird.
Just,
I think Logan's Run was weirder than this.
I had a better time with Logan's Run.
Okay.
Probably because I'm more into
sci-fi
Boobs.
future.
Yeah, there were more boobs in Logan.
Way more boobs.
In this one, I mean, everybody seems sweaty and nasty.
Oh, they're very grimy.
Oh yeah,
grimy, dirty, and I don't know exactly what they're trying to do here.
It's just
there's some kind of like social message they're trying to maybe.
I don't
get
think
across.
so. I think honestly,
I don't get it.
It's
they missed
almost like just like we talked about it having like Greek historical not accuracy, but Greek historical references to it. I think it's just an adventure movie.
Maybe,
like there's not much point to it other than just like, hey, watch these guys go from point A to point B, and
they're just going from point A to point
B, and try not to die.
It was a miss with me. There's a lot of running.
A lot of running.
The fight scenes were not very well choreographed.
Well, I mean, if you've ever been in a gang, like you can't fight every single time. Sometimes you run away.
No. But like, I don't know.
Have you been in a gang, Jude?
I don't want to talk about it.
I mean, it's the whole premise is just silly. They're in the middle of this. There's 1,000 gang members there at the beginning of at the meetup, and dipshit shoots him. It was the Warriors, and he's got the fucking gun in his hand probably still. They did it. And it's just like, come on. It's just silly. I don't know. But at the same time, it was kind of fun. Watching these guys go through their adventures. Watch shitty people do shitty things. That's basically what.
Watch shitty people do shitty.
Yeah,
That's my favorite.
Welcome to the Salty Nerd Podcast.
I didn't relate to these guys. I don't get it.
Okay.
It's like they're not nice people.
Okay.
He threatened to rape her, to the girlfriend, and she was into it. It's like I don't get it.
Was she though, or did she just want to be a tough chick?
I kind of think she was, but whatever. It's just
was she like the leader of the orphans?
No, she was just some hanger-on.
Why did the orphans even care who?
Because she's tougher than them.
Yeah, because they were just weak.
This is a bunch of losers.
They were a bunch of losers that hung out down at the t-shirt store.
Yeah, and I like how she just abandoned everything and just like went along with the
Warriors. She lives in Coney Island now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go hang out with these guys. They're way tougher.
they got better vests.
Yeah.
All right, Jude. What are your thoughts on this movie? Final thoughts. Give it a rating.
So my interpretation was that this was based on something that was really violent. And I want to say, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but like during this time, like making a movie about gangs in New York, it was kind of a touchy subject, was it not? So I feel like the intention was to like make this movie about this very real thing, but make it silly to kind of take the edge off of that. It's like, salty and sweet, you know?
Well, this was actually kind of a response to something like West Side Story, where Walter Hill was like, that's an idealized version of gangs, and I want to do something a little bit more gritty and
take the music
and violent.
out of it.
Yeah, and so like this was meant to be the anti-West Side Story.
Okay.
I like this better than West Side Story.
Yeah, I don't care for musicals very much.
Me either.
No, I loved it. This was my favorite.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
I can have opinions.
No, I thought for sure Deathrace was going to be your favorite.
I loved Deathrace. It totally blew me away. And like I've seen parts of this, and I've definitely seen like references and stuff. So I knew what it was about, but I didn't realize that I've never actually watched the whole movie, like sat down and watched the whole movie. And I loved it. I thought it was really fun. And it didn't blow me away the way that Deathrace did, but I really enjoyed it. Like I actually just liked, like with Deathrace, I was sitting there being like, this is hilarious.
Yeah.
What a hoot this movie is. With this, I was actually just watching it and enjoying a movie.
Okay.
So this was my favorite. And I give it, the same score that I gave Deathrace because I enjoyed them both in different ways. So this is a 4 out of 5 leather vests for me.
Cool. Candice, how about you, bud?
I've never actually cared for this movie all that much.
We have to break up.
I mean, it just was never anything that really resonated with me. I can appreciate it for what it was and what it attempted to be, but like I never truly like was a big fan of this movie. But it's kind of interesting because in the book, all the dominators or AKA the warriors are Black or Hispanic. Like there were no white people in the gang. And when Walter Hill was getting ready to make this movie, he was like, I want to have an all Black and Hispanic cast. And the studio was like, no. It's like, you got to put white people in there.
Oh my God.
And so, you know, basically he came up with this cast. I think Tony Danza was originally supposed to play one of these characters.
Hey, yo, hey. Gonna go to get a vacuum. Okay, let's go.
Yeah, but he was contractually obligated to taxi at the time. Yeah. So, you know, like I feel like I never really connected with any of the characters in this movie. They were just kind of like there. But there is one good moment where they're on the subway at the way home at the end. And, you know, these kids from prom show up and they sit across from them. And these are like...
And how those kids did not notice this gang of ruffians on the on the same subway car. They're just like, ha, 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 our life is awesome. And then they sit down and then they notice like all of these people.
Well,
so silly.
It's the first time we get a glimpse of normal life in this movie. And the contrast of what the warrior's life is like. And, you know, Mercy kind of goes to like fix her hair when she sees like, you know, these girls in prom dresses, and Swan just stops her.
He grabs her hand.
Yeah, he grabs her hand and he's just like, no. It's like, don't try to be like them because we're not. And it's a very kind of, I think,
I got a very, moment. You don't need to do that.
Well, for sure. Well, you know, the thing about the warriors is that they're very prideful. Mm-hmm. And so like, you know, the thought of her fixing her hair in order to try to kind of mimic who these normal people are was insulting to him. Or he's like, we're badass enough where we don't need to be like these people. We're not like them. We got to be us. And so like that to me, it's almost like a libertarian message in the sense that like we got to be independent of what society wants us to be. And I always thought that was kind of an interesting message. But overall, I don't really like this movie all that much. I'd give it like, I don't know, maybe like 2 switchblades out of 5.
And we are like on the same wavelength today. That's weird.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of 70s movies, actually. So like this week was kind of tough for me because I didn't really want to watch any of these films. And probably my favorite out of them was Deathrace. Just because I've always had a special place in my heart for how campy that is, and Sylvester Stallone and stuff. But yeah,
there's a lot of running in this movie, huh?
There's a lot of running.
Yeah, we have it on right now, and it's just it's been a good straight 10 minutes of just running.
Well, you know what's funny is that so like the baseball furies were chasing after them. Mm-hmm. So there were the stuntmen who would actually do the fights, and then they brought in like people who specialized in running for the running scenes because there was so much running that you know,
their
like,
actors were all out of breath.
Well, the stuntmen just like couldn't keep up the extended running for all the shots and stuff, so they had to bring in like marathoners and things like that.
How funny!
Yeah,
that's goofy. All right, for me, this is least favorite out of the 3 movies we watched this week. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I have a very just bland, like blah feeling towards it. Like, okay, it's an okay, kind of cool sometimes 70s movie. Got a few moments like the whole like come out and play, like
we're gonna get some hate.
That I don't, you know, whatever. That was cool. The opening scene with like Morpheus Jr. coming out and doing his scene thing, like that was cool. Like there's parts that I like, but overall I'm just kind of like, okay, it's an okay movie. It's nothing that's I'm not gonna go out of my way to watch it more than I have already. It's just kind of like. It exists. I understand that it has a place in the pop culture. It exists. It's a movie. It happened.
You heard it here first. This movie exists.
If you're into cult movies, then you need to watch.
But this movie made a huge amount of money when it came out. So I can't say it's cult.
But people are still watching it today and still talking about it today.
You know what's funny about this movie is that so when it came out, all the gangs would go to the theater to see it, and because you had rival gangs in the same theater, a lot of fights would break out. And so because there were so many, like, there was so much hubbub about the violence that the movie was creating in the theater, that I think it was either MGM or whatever studio did this, decided to pull the movie after like 2 weeks out in the theaters. And so it could have made way more money if they hadn't pulled it. And that had always kind of like been the thing that undercut this movie's success. What was they basically got cold feet about keeping the movie out
I
there.
bet you if you were alive and this age in the 70s and part of a gang and you went to the movies with your buddies and you watched this movie, you probably fucking loved it. You were probably like, holy shit.
Or you thought it was the goofiest thing ever.
No, I bet you they love that stuff, dude.
They're like, we need to come up with our own thing.
We need to come up with our own things.
Hey, we got some face paint.
Should we be doing makeup?
Johnny, you got any face paint? I don't know. I feel like this is probably a bygone era. Like people of the time probably watched it and really thought it was awesome. But watching it now, 40 years later, it's not hitting on the same level, I guess.
But it's still in the pop culture lexicon out
For
there.
sure.
Yeah.
People still
for sure.
reference it.
But how much of it, though?
You'd be
Probably just
you'd
that
be
opening scene.
surprised.
People are still dressing up like the baseball guys and like the Warriors for Halloween.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
Especially the baseball guys.
I mean, I've seen the baseball dude now that I'm thinking about it.
yeah.
I've seen the baseball guy in the casino walking around.
Mhm.
I'm like, man, that's a stupid costume. but I get it now.
Yeah.
You know.
I had a flash of like Clockwork Orange, those dudes with the jock straps.
A little
I'm
bit
like-
of the old ultra vinyl.
where's
I'm
that
so
gang?
glad we did not watch
Oh,
those.
God.
Next time we go down this road, we'll have to watch that one,
Clockwork
'cause
Orange.
I've never seen it either.
I've seen it
So.
once, and I don't want to watch it again.
It's-
Okay.
It's Kubrick, man.
What did
Yeah.
What did you guys think about the entrapment scene when
Mercedes rule arrest Ajax.
was that the cop Mercedes rule?
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
he
okay.
had to go.
Oh.
He had to go get his rapey on.
Oh yeah,
And,
Yeah.
He set himself up.
Yeah,
Ajax,
do
Ajax was just looking to rape someone.
Do
Yeah.
you think that he did that to himself, or do you think that those police ladies entrapped him?
Well,
he did that
in the 70s. They entrapped anyone anywhere.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
But
just joking.
my argument? I'm like the dude like runs past a random person sitting on the bench, and he's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go rape that person.
First of all, I call shenanigans because she's sitting on a park bench reading a book
In the
at
middle of
night.
Night by
Yeah, yeah.
herself.
Oh, yeah.
You know she's up to no good.
Yeah.
She's either
She's a honeypot.
she's an evil wizard or a cop.
Ajax was just dumbass.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
just an idiot.
He's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
stupid.
I mean, his friends even called it. They were
Don't
like,
do it,
dude,
dude.
don't do it,
Yeah.
man. Don't do it. We got to go.
And then they were like, oh,
And
we gotta go back there and save his ass because for sure she's
they just watch him get arrested.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean, they're not going to go up against like
Oh,
12 cops.
no.
You got busted.
No.
Damn.
Yeah.
They
No,
survived to
silly.
tell the story.
he was an idiot. He asked for it 100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely a honeypot. All right. That's it for our discussion of The Warriors. Thanks for joining us today on the podcast. If you would like to support the podcast, saltynerdclub.com, join our Patreon, like, subscribe, share this video with your friends, do all that cool social media stuff to help us grow the channel. We're trying to get to 1,000 YouTube subscribers. All right, Bearded Barbarian, where can they find you on the socials?
You can come tell me I'm wrong at Vader74 on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. So
Very good. Jude, where can they find you?
You can call me at 702. Just kidding.
Whoa.
555
1-800. No, 1-900.
1-900.
Yeah, there you go.
That's more my scene.
1-900
Yeah.
TRAIN.
You can visit my OnlyFans.
At I am Juju on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok.
Right on. And you have a new book that you just narrated that just came out on Audible, right?
Yeah.
Shout that out. Come on, girl.
It's called Tempted. It's by KB Winters, and I'm the narrator, but I'm going by a pseudonym, June Aaron.
Go check it out, guys. Audible.com. Check out Jude's book. Help support a small
Yeah.
time.
Give me a nice review, please.
Reviews are awesome. All right, Kadish, where can they find you?
You can find me at Matthew Kadish, Kadish on Twitter, and kadishbooks.com takes you to my Amazon page.
And you just had a recent book drop on Audible as well.
I had 2 books drop. on
Two
Audible,
books? Oh,
yeah.
The Sinful, right? And
Sinful, The Devil's Breath, which is my Las Vegas murder mystery series, and Rook and Berenger, Childhood to the End, which is a science fiction mystery.
I haven't read Sinful yet, or I haven't listened to it yet, but Rook and Berenger.
Are those, sorry.
Go ahead.
Are those under 2 different pen
Yeah,
names?
yeah. So my Sinful book is under the pseudonym Maxwell Cambridge,
Mhm.
but Rook and Berenger is under my regular name Matthew Kadish.
Maxwell.
And Matt Vader 74 was a consultant on the.
That's right.
the
That's
Sinful
right.
book.
He was. That's how you guys fell in love.
I worked really hard on that.
I think he shouts you out in the actual book. I think there's something that didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah. I got a page.
Nice.
Cool.
All right, guys.
Something to show my
If you'd like to
grandkids.
support the podcast, audible.com. Check out these guys' work. It's pretty awesome. And I am the Salty Nerd. You can catch me on Twitter at salty_nerd. And as always, stay salty, my friends.